Ushiji, will you please speak just few words? No, still your voice is not coming.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Just across again. Ram? Ram?
Yes, sir.
There's a problem with SAR connectivity. Will you check from outside? Can you check
Yes, sir.
it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our side is clear, sir. Other people I can able to see, sir.
Okay. रवि कुमार जी, आप उशित सिंह जी का सिस्टम को थोड़ा चेक कर लीजिए ना। तो आवाज आ रहा था, उशित सिंह जी का क्लियर नहीं है, थोड़ा देख लीजिए ना उसको। मैडम का तो भी आवाज नहीं आ रहा था। Now will you please check? Or any problem?
Mic check 1 2 3. Hello.
Next page.
Next page.
अभी आवाज आ रहा है क्या मेरा? आ रहा है मेरा आवाज? 1 2 आ रहा है?
अभी आवाज आ रहा है क्या मेरा? देखिए 1 2 3 4 5 6 7।
Can we start?
Yes, yes, sir.
Can
Yes,
we
yes.
start the meeting now?
Yes, sir. Your voice is clear now. We can start the meeting.
So I am connected with my mobile and I am trying to get Secretary Madam also connected.
Okay, sir.
The only issue is that how Honorable Minister will be connected.
I think Minister voice was clear. They checked it. System was working.
वहां से नहीं हो रहा, इससे हो रहा है कनेक्ट, वहां से नहीं जा रही है, पूछिए।
The system was working. They checked it.
आवाज आ रही है? अभी आवाज आ रहा है?
या मिनिस्ट्री का सिस्टम काम कर रहा है क्या? तो एक लैपटॉप फिक्स कर दीजिए ना, तो इससे मुझे लगता है
Hello sir, can you hear me sir?
हेलो
Hello sir, आवाज सुन पा रहे हैं सर हमारी? Dr. Dev, can you hear me now?
yes, it is.
Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello sir, good afternoon sir. आवाज आ रही है sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. अभी रही है. Hello. Again, speak few more words.
Connect of the minister.
No, it is clear now. Sunamji, now it is clear.
Okay, ठीक है sir, ठीक है.
ठीक है.
So Dr. Dev, we are calling the honorable minister in couple of minutes. So you can. So we are already late by 20 minutes and we apologize for that. We'll just start. ठीक. लेकिन आपने तो अभी तो क्वेश्चन है इसको आपको मिलेगा. अभी तक कागज आपको भी पूरे के पूरे लग रहा है बताता हूँ. मैं किसी को वो लेकर निकाल रहा हूँ तो बोलिए. डॉक्टर है
Good afternoon to one and all present on this online platform. I request all the participants to please put your microphones on mute mode, please. Let us commence the international conference with the invocation of Buddhist divine chant, which is known as the three jewels or three treasures, referred to as Dr Ratna prayer in Buddhism.
Gautama, he was attempting to cross a small river which was known as Niranjana. Suddenly he realized the pointlessness of everything that he's been doing. All this physical torture that he's been doing with himself. Suddenly he realized everything that he's looking for is right here. He's been desperately trying to go towards truth. Suddenly he realized there is no going towards truth. If you just open up, it's right here.
Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Youth Affairs and Sports, Minority Affairs and Ayush, Shri Kiran Rijuji, Sir, esteemed Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Youth Affairs, Madam Usha Sharma, IAS, respected Director General of ICCR, Shri Dinesh Patnaik, IFS, the Joint Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Youth Affairs, Shri Asit Singh Sir, Professor Sibnath Deb, Director RJNYD, revered resource persons and youth from Argentina, Australia, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Chile, Cyprus, Ethiopia, Guatemala, Guyana, Kenya, Korea Republic, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Nigeria, Philippines, Portugal, Qatar, Romania, Russia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Tunisia, Turkey, Vietnam, besides India. Good afternoon to one and all present on this online platform. We are gathered virtually for the inaugural session of the 3-day International Conference on Buddhist Philosophy and its role in inculcating values among youth, which is being held from today till the 19th February 2021. This international conference is being jointly organized by the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Sri Perumbudur, Tamil Nadu, an institution of national importance by the Act of Parliament under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, an autonomous organization of the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, New Delhi. Let's begin the inaugural program. Let me at the outset request Professor Sibnath Deb, Director, RGNIYD, to welcome the guests and participants and to outline the objectives of the international conference. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everyone. This Buddhist chant exactly sets the tune of the conference. Honorable Minister, Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Minority Affairs and Ayush, Sri Kiran Rijiju ji, respected Usha Sharma ji, Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, respected Oshish Singh ji, Joint Secretary of the Ministry, respected Dinesh Kumar Patnaik ji, Director General of Indian Council of Cultural Relations, Sri Sanjay Bedi ji, Senior Program Director, ICCR, the esteemed resource persons, my dear colleagues at RGNOID, and distinguished participants. It is my privilege and honor to welcome you all in our 3-day international conference titled Buddhist Philosophy and its role in inculcating values among youth, jointly organized by the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development under the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, and Indian Council of Cultural Relations under Ministry of External Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Government of India constituted subgroups comprising Ministries of Culture, Tourism, and Education, with ICCR as a convener to work out a comprehensive and consolidated action plan for activities related to Buddhism in India. Towards this end, the ICCR developed an action plan on the project titled Revival of India as a Global Center of Buddhist Culture and Tourism. Towards this end, the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development had submitted a proposal to the ICCR and it has been approved. Ladies and gentlemen, this particular international conference seeks to ingrain in youth of various countries the ethical ideologies of Buddhist philosophy, such as Shila, which encompass virtues, good conduct, and morality. Samadhi, that includes concentration, meditation, and mental development, which strengthens and controls human mind, besides helping an individual to maintain good conduct. Finally, prajna, that embraces discernment, insight, wisdom, and enlightenment, which are imperative to maintain a pure and calm mind. The Buddhist traditions teach us not to harm others, like ahimsa, desiring for a contented and a decent life, abstain from being unkind to others, and refraining from abusive practices, which will not only cultivate morality in youth, but will also infuse a sense of conviction to lead a purposeful and meaningful life. The youth must be responsibly mindful of their thoughts, feelings, and actions, which will have future consequences like karma, which will convert as the determining influences in the cycle of rebirth. In today's society, a large number of us are in the rat race to earn quick money at the cost of peace and happiness. But at the end of the day, peace and happiness is very important in our life. And sometimes we compromise with our ethics and values in order to achieve something in life instead of happiness. I'm sure that this effort in installing values among youth through this conference will have a good impact on youth in terms of positive thoughts, high resilience, and rationality in terms of taking proper decision in life, and broader outlook about life to lead an honest, meaningful, and decent life. Given this background, we propose to achieve 4 objectives through this conference. They include to discuss the various dimensions of Buddhist philosophy and its culture, to give an overview of Buddhist literature and architecture available across the countries, to highlight the relevance of Buddhist philosophy and its impact on youth, to share the experience of best practices of Buddhist philosophy in inculcating the values among the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to inform all the dignitaries and participants that we have got 23 eminent resource persons from India, Thailand, Vietnam, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Mongolia, and Cambodia. I'm also delighted to inform you that about 400 participants from 29 countries joined the today's inaugural function. I'm confident that all of you will find the deliberations by the resource person highly beneficial and thought-provoking. Finally, I would like to thank our Honorable Minister, respected Secretary Ma'am, Joint Secretary, other officials of the Ministry, as well as Director General of ICCR and Senior Program Director of ICCR for their continuous support and encouragement in organizing this international event. Once again, I wholeheartedly welcome all the dignitaries, the resource person, and the participants in the 3-day international conference. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for welcoming the participants and for delineating the objectives of the international conference. May I now request Shri Asit Singh, IRS, Joint Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, who is our special guest for the inaugural session. I request you, sir, to deliver the special address, please.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Madam Mr. Sharma ji, ICCR, Buddhist Chapter, Dr. Srinath Dev, Director RBNID, Dr. Sanjay Reddy, Senior Program Director, ICCR, all other government officials, and our esteemed dignitaries, Mr. Guru, and guests connected from different countries of the world. Very good afternoon to all of you. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to each one of you for watching this event. And it gives me pleasure to inform that the RBNID, in collaboration with ICCR, is organizing this international conference on Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values among youth. It is so very relevant and important in the present time. It is also a matter of great satisfaction for us in the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sport that there is a novel attempt to bring together the policymakers, academicians, researchers, and practitioners from international and national organizations, universities, research institutions, and civil society organizations to explore and deliberate upon the need for indoctrinating the impressive values of self and societal development, thereby contributing a virtuous difference for nation building. Today, the world faces a crisis related to lack of respect for spiritual principles and ethical values. Such virtues cannot be forced on society by legislation or by science, nor can they be there in spite of ethical conduct. Rather, people must have conviction in the work of ethical principles so that they want to live peacefully, harmoniously, and ethically. I would like to repeat here that particularly for the participating youth, the 5 precepts of Buddhism that provide a set of guidelines for improvement in our daily life. Those being, do not harm or kill living things, do not take things unless they are freely given, lead a decent life, do not speak unkindly or tell lies, and do not abuse drugs or drink alcohol. Practicing these principles will nurture the character of youth. I am sure that this conference will provide a platform for the experts and professionals, particularly for the youth of different countries, to gain more insight, exchange ideas, and enable them to network and collaborate for emulation of best practices and expertise of various nations for disseminating and promoting the Buddhist philosophy and value-based education among people. I once again take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers for choosing the right theme for the conference that is vital for the moral and ethical development of youth and reach the conference.
Thank you very much, sir, for your informative address to the international youth on inculcating Buddhist values among the youth. Thank you, sir. May I now request our special guest, Sri Dinesh K. Patnaik, IFS, respected Director General of the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, to address the participants, please. Over to you, sir.
Sir, you unmute.
Namaskar to all the participants. I'm delighted that the chief guest of today and the main speaker is Sri Kiren Rijiju, whom I know very well, one of our brightest ministers and probably the best role model for the youth in the country today. So I'm delighted that he's here today. I also recognize Mrs. Usha Sharma, the Secretary Youth Affairs, and the Joint Secretary, Mr. Ashit Singh. I'm also delighted to see Mr. Sivnath Dey from the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, with whom we are working together to do this conference, this 3-day conference. This conference has various speakers from across the world, speakers, intellectuals, youth, especially speakers from countries like Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Vietnam, Cambodia, Mongolia, and Thailand. So delighted that this is happening. The topic of today's conference is Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values among the youth. And one of the first things that I started thinking is, why do we need to inculcate values in the youth? So the main reason, the youth are the backbone of the nation. They're the citizens of tomorrow, the leaders of the future, and they're responsible for humanity's existence in the future. So inculcating good values becomes important for us. Important because values are a reflection of the decisions we make. We make the decisions depending on our values. And there is a general feeling today that the values among the youth are being compromised. Values which we thought were strong, values like honesty, respect, patience, responsibility. These are values which we think are important, is what this youth seem to lack today. And one feels that the youth have lost it to some extent. And there was a study done recently to find out what the main problems of the youth were. And we found that the main problems of the youth were things like mental depression, anxiety, and nowadays a large use of drug and alcohol. So what does this mean? Does it mean that the youth of today is actually, the future is bleak, that the youth of today is a problem? It's actually not true. It's true that the youth of today have a different outlook from what we were when we were younger. We think that the same values will continue. But it is different. They have inherited a different world. This is a world which is far better than the world we inherited. A world where there is less wars, less poverty, better healthcare, better education, and greater use of technology. Today, technology is everywhere. The youth of today is actually digitally wired. We were analogs. We are like dinosaurs for this generation. So we should not try and look at the same values as we look at what we had the same values. In fact, these children are much more enthusiastic, more courage, and more idealistic than we were. For them, many of them, they don't understand a world without digital technology. In fact, many of them don't understand that a world without internet ever existed. Many of them cannot think of a life without the internet. And I will take you back to a survey which was done recently to find out what youth want the most. And the 3 top things that came out would surprise most people. And this was a survey done just last year. The 3 main things were finding purpose and meaning in life. Second one was having lots of money. Of course, all youth want lots of money. And the third one was contributing to society, which shows that the money part is there, but there is a large amount of youth who want to find purpose and meaning in their life and who want to contribute to society. These children, this youth of today want to do much more. They are more egalitarian in their approach, more understanding. The values are changing. In fact, today, the youth want less marriage than what we did before. They're more tolerant of things like gay rights. They have lower levels of societal trust. They more believe in themselves and less believe in God. Now, why am I saying all this in this conference? It's because religion has always played a role in inculcating values. But this role is slowly coming down. The more bigger role is with family and friends. In fact, today religion needs to adapt to the youth and not make the youth adapt to religion. Because religion itself has to change. And that's why Buddhism is such a wonderful religion, because it has adapted over the century. It has adapted to the people, adapted to the youth. This is much more, it's a more pacifist. all religions across the world, if you look at it, teach the same things: goodness of mankind, proper societal values. But some religions are more flexible than others. And Buddhism is actually much more flexible. On an average, a Buddhist is more pacifist, more tolerant than many religions. So the idea that Buddhism can actually influence the youth is very important. But a lot of people ask me, they tell me, how can the Buddha, who himself renounced his family, actually influence the youth? He renounced everything. So how can he influence? In fact, in today's world, most children suffer from mental depression and anxiety because either their parents have abandoned them, or their parents are divorced, or they live in broken homes. So the whole question is, how can actually Buddha help something when he has himself renounced? People actually don't understand the concept of why he renounced. Because if you really look at it, he didn't renounce. He came back, and his own son, Rahula, actually became his disciple. Rahula, at the age of 7, became a disciple of the Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha taught him that his renunciation was not renunciation of the people, but renunciation of ties. That he was teaching that detachment is actually the only way to success. And so he taught Rahula a lot of truths. He taught Rahula the truths about how to be honest, how to do self-reflection, and how to have compassion. And these are the 3 things that the youth need to learn today. Buddha taught his own son, he has taught others. And these are the 3 most important things: honesty, self-reflection, and compassion. In fact, the Buddha is known as the Mahakaruna, the man with the maximum compassion. In today's world, when there are different ideologies, where people are fighting with each other, where the world is having so many problems, Karuna becomes important, compassion becomes important. And these are the things we need to learn. So I'm sure that the conference that we are having today will discuss all these things and more. This conference is the beginning of a series of international seminars and conferences that ICCR will hold, along with other colleagues, other parties like the Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Youth Development, on different aspects of Buddhism. We want to make India a hub of Buddhism worldwide. So I wish this conference all success, and I'm sure the deliberation that will be there in this conference will be enriching and fulfilling. Thank you very much, and namaskar.
Thank you very much for your insightful address and for delineating the need for inculcating values among the youth, particularly the role of Buddhism philosophy in enriching the values of today's youth. Thank you very much for your address. On behalf of the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development and the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, I now request Madam Usha Sharma, IAS, esteemed Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Youth Affairs, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and our guest of honor to deliver the special address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of State for Affairs and Sports, Sri Kiran Rijiju, the Assistant, Joint Secretary, Sri Dinesh Kumar Patnaik, ICCR, Professor Krishna Dave, Director of the Institute, Dr. Sandhya Vedi, Senior Program Director, ICCR, government officials who are present in the conference, representatives of various Buddhist institutions, learned scholars, young friends from different nations. On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, I sincerely wish to extend my greetings to everyone who is present on virtual platform for this very, very relevant theme of 3-day conference, which is revival of India as a global center of Buddhist culture and tourism. And this is the platform, and the theme of this 3-day conference is Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values amongst youth. The Buddham Saranam Gacchami really set the tone for this 3-day conference, and I really find it as an honor to interact with the eminent participants of the conference on Buddhist philosophy and its role. It's a great initiative which has been taken by both our Institute for Youth Development and the ICCR. It's a great beginning, and I was going through the list of the report persons. 23 report persons from countries like Mongolia, Thailand, Nepal, Bhutan, Kenya, India, Sri Lanka, and so on, participating in this 3-day conference, which itself have a field of pride that the 3-day conference really very, very engaging, very enriching, very fulfilling, and there will be major learnings out of these deliberations. And the topics which have been chosen, like beliefs and practices among 59 Hindus and vision of Dr Ratna, rediscovering basic goodness, it's done with a lot of thinking. And the range is very, very wide, and I'm sure that the recommendations and suggestions which are made after the 3-day conference very, very relevant. And I remember one of my overseas visits to one of the Buddhist countries, which when you enter the country, you feel that it is so different. And the whole environment was so peaceful, it had a lot of calming effect, and that country had the highest happiness index. So you could get a feeling that everyone who was a citizen of this country is very, very positive minded, very active, there's a very high level of cultural satisfaction, and the feeling to do for others immense. So I completely am convinced that it's real in inculcating values among people. Very, very important, very relevant, and it would understand the philosophy behind it. Deeply understand and try to practice and show the kind of voluntarism we talk about. You will not have to convince the youth of this country that just imagine a scenario that if the large population of youth becomes positive and becomes a volunteer by nature, then the state and the country in many aspects would be totally different. India, as all of us know, has the highest, largest segment of youth, and is actually the youngest nation in the world with all in terms of demography. Youth in all ages have been the same measures of progress and society. The youth have rights as well as applications to participate actively in the nation development and in shaping the destiny of the nation. It in fact becomes our own destiny. And the problems are many, the aspirations are naturally very high, and in a country with a great past and great promise. The need is therefore, as I've already mentioned, to create a nation of peace, increase opportunities for developing their overall personality, bring about a lot of positivity, if the happiness index goes high, then the achievement is huge. With this philosophy, as Dinesh has already mentioned, that it all. It's the time that we live this we act, and our actions can either be harmful or beneficial, consequences for oneself and others. With this ethics is concerned with the principles and the practices that help the individual to act in ways that help rather than harm. The core ethical code of Buddhism is known as five precepts, and these are the distillations of its principles. The precepts are not the rules or the commandments, but principles of training which are undertaken freely and need to be put into practice with utmost sensitivity. The Buddhist doctrine acknowledges that life is complex and poses many difficulties, and it does not suggest that there is a single course of action that will be right in all circumstances. Rather than speaking of action being right or wrong, Buddhism speaks of being skillful or unskillful. In philosophy, faith, in the three goals of Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, finds everyday practical expressions in our aspiration to live by ethical precepts to the best of our ability. I'm very, very scared. I'm rather convinced that the 3-day delivery during this international campaign will clearly bring about the imperative of the role of the Buddhist philosophy in planting significant value amongst the youth, which are very, very essential pieces for our nation building, and appeal the young delegates to take utmost benefit from the content and imbibe those values that are very, very meaningful and enrich life I wish to contact all success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your thought-provoking address. It is indeed a great privilege to have with us the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Youth Affairs and Sports, Minority Affairs, and Ayush Government of India, Shri Kiran Rijiju sir, who is referred to as the voice of Northeast India. Our Honorable Union Minister has evinced keen interest to be a part of this international conference on Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values among youth. We deem it highly befitting to ask this best young member of Parliament of India to inaugurate this international conference of paramount significance and to present this message for the youth of various nations. On behalf of the organizers from RGNIYD and ICCR, I request our Honorable Union Minister to deliver the presidential address and to declare the conference open. Over to you, sir, please.
Thank you. Namaskar. Secretary, Youth Affairs, Government of India, Mrs. Usha Sharma ji, the Director General of ICCR, Dinesh Patnaik ji, Joint Secretary Asif Singh ji, the Director of RGNYD, Professor Sidnath Dev ji, Dr. Sanjay Bedi ji, Senior Program Director, ICCR, all the government officials, experts in Buddhist philosophy of India and all the friendly countries, the learned scholars and youngsters. It is a privilege for me to be a part of this very important 3-day international conference on Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values among youth. I think this title of international conference is very, very important. I will not talk about the Buddhist teachings and philosophy because we are going to deliberate the next 2 days to lots of learned scholars. So you will be discussing on learning about it. And Secretary Youth Affairs also made very important points about how the Buddhist philosophy is so useful for the present time. And Dinesh Patnaik also mentioned about how India is concerned to Buddhist philosophy and how we need to tap into more of such even to ensure that the love and compassion, the ideology, the philosophy of Lord Buddha can be made more relevant. And as well, Secretary Asif Singh also made such an important point. What I always feel is how relevant Buddhist teachings and Lord Buddha's ideas in present time. If you see 2,600 years back, how and under what circumstances he thought it relevant. And if you see in present time, personally I feel that as it was relevant that time, it is more relevant now. The challenges are multifold many times than that time. The scope of life, the horizon has increased. The ideas of human beings have expanded. So there are more conflicts, there are more issues, more critical circumstances which we have to face in today's time. When I go to some of the places where Lord Buddha had walked more than 2,600 years back, I have been to almost all the locations from Bodh Gaya to Sarnath to Kushinagar, Rajgir, all these places, and I have tried to feel it. Of course, I have gone in this 21st century, but I have tried to feel it. 2,600 years back, when Buddha was walking on that train, what must be in his mind, what the circumstances under which he endured all those difficulties and he came out of those great thoughts which we are still studying and find to be more relevant. And I also feel that it will be as relevant in the future as it is today. Some of the teachings, I feel if you understand and try to imbibe the Buddhist teaching, you can do no wrong. If those four noble truths, which are the universal truths, and the eightfold path, how to achieve those four noble truths, if you try to follow in spirit also, then it gives you immense satisfaction. Otherwise, there is no limitation for human beings. I always say this. A greedy man can never be happy and satisfied in life. He may be the richest man on the planet, but if he is greedy, he cannot be happy because his need will never be fulfilled. Need is more than the material need or whatever you term it, but the person would try to acquire more and more. You would love to be more powerful man. You will try to dominate upon others. You will try to subjugate others. You want to take everybody under your control. So the human greed, the human nature of dominance has no limitation. These kind of thoughts can be contained only if you walk on Buddha's teaching. This is how I feel those learned scholars, when they are teaching the Buddhist philosophy to the young generation. The younger generation have a better ability to grasp, understand it, and then put into their stride in the lifetime. That is how I always see it. Like the GG, I see here Mr. Patnaik was mentioning about Lord Buddha renouncing his life and how he came back later. It's the same as we, suppose if I am a politician today, if I have devoted myself for public life and for public service, then I have to renounce my family life. But practically, complete renunciation is not possible. But what is happening is I give less time to my family because I am serving the society more. So that is where I give more time. But if I keep complaining that because of my public service, I am unable to give time to my family, that means I am not devoted to my service fully. Because I am devoting partially. So that is why I tell my family also, as long as I am in the public service, I can devote less time to my family. So this is something what Lord Buddha has done completely, which we are trying to do partially. I am not a Lord Buddha, so I am not renouncing my family. But I am trying to at least do something, some percentage of what Lord Buddha has taught. That is why I always think less about my needs, my family, myself, and more about the society. And that is how the people in general, they treat somebody as a true leader or a true guide in the society. Because we learn from what we do. So the action speaks louder than the words. Means if I speak good thing about Lord Buddha, but if I act exactly opposite to what Lord Buddha has said, then my talking about Lord Buddha's teaching has no meaning. So at least what I said, we are not Lord Buddha, we are not great men. But at least we can invite certain teachings of Lord Buddha in the way in which we carry forward our daily life. That is why the younger generation, they require to understand the core values of this philosophy so that there is more peace, there is more compassion, and there is more devotion. Now, those venerable who will be speaking, or learned scholars who will be speaking, they will throw better light on all these things. But what I am referring to myself is what I, as an ordinary person, as an ordinary human being, what I should be doing something. Now, if I have certain responsibility, and if I don't give full devotion towards my responsibility, that means I am doing half-heartedly. In the same manner, in today's time, our Prime Minister has been saying that if any country desires to become a powerful nation, then he must walk on the footprint of Lord Buddha. That means you become powerful by spreading love and compassion, not by conquering, not by punishing, not by suppressing others. you can win over other people through your good work, through your good deeds. That is how, in democracy also, we have to ensure that we win election by doing a good job, not by threatening or not by using force, not by using money, not by capturing the booth, not by buying the vote. So that is how actually I think these are all, it flows from Buddhist philosophy, where you serve, you do good things, and not get the love from the people. That is why what our Secretary Madam was mentioning about visiting a country like Bhutan or some Buddhist countries, why you get that sense of satisfaction. Why Bhutan has given a poll to measure the gross net happiness. So the gross domestic happiness which they have seen is because the king of Bhutan feels that Bhutan may not be the richest person in the present calculation of the economic concept and all. But most of the Bhutanese are happy. That means they follow the path of Buddhism. So, not being the richest country, but where people are all the citizens are happy, that is something we need to study. In the same manner, I would say that if a country is very powerful, but if the citizens are not happy, what is the point of being a powerful nation by keeping your people unhappy? So this is certain in the present global perspective also. The Buddhist teachings, Buddha's teachings are so relevant. And then as a human being, we need to understand. That is why I feel what has been said by Lord Buddha 3,600 years back is more relevant in today's time. So while this seminar, this international conference is going on, so many friends, especially the young friends from other countries, they will get the benefit of what India is, how Lord Buddha had made this country a sacred place by walking all around this great land and spread the Buddhism, which has become a global religion. So Buddhism cannot be seen from the prism of one community, one region, one country. But Buddhism is truly universal, it's a global concept. Personally, I don't term Buddhism just as a religion, but it is a way of life. It is something, a guiding force for me. It's showing light for me to look at the world and how to lead a very peaceful life. So, Government of India is doing everything to ensure that this kind of good teaching, Buddha's events are celebrated. Since last 5 years, we have started celebrating the Mahaparinirvana. Because you all know, Buddha was born and he renounced this planet on the same day. He was born on the full moon and died on the same day. So that is how we celebrate Vesak, as well as we term it as a Buddha Purnima, Buddha Jayanti, how you term it. And especially I, being a Buddhist myself, I have the opportunity to travel in so many countries, from Mongolia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, China, Japan, Korea, Myanmar, Laos, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan, of course, Nepal, and of course within the India, I have seen most of the footprints of Lord Buddha. So it is a tremendous opportunity to see how people are benefiting from the teachings of Lord Buddha. We are a young nation, and most of the developing countries are young nations. The youth are going to decide the future course of the nation. So if the youth are given proper education, proper knowledge, nothing like that, because the destiny of a nation will be shaped by the generation which lives in that particular state of time. So if we can inculcate right values among the youth, nothing like that. And more appropriately, if we can inculcate the Buddhist philosophy among the youth of the planet on this planet Earth, our planet will be more peaceful. Some people are crazy people trying to kill each other by throwing nuclear bomb and trying to destroy this beautiful Earth. This is such a beautiful place. We should make it more beautiful rather than putting all efforts and generous resources to destroy ourselves. So if the young generation understands this, Buddha's teaching, our planet, our world will be much That is why I termed this conference and this subject, the topic, Buddhist philosophy and its role in inculcating values among the youth, is very appropriate. And in this COVID time, we have learned a lot. And there was a study, there was a story in one of the very important magazines, which had written something very important about the spread of Buddhism, how the Buddhist practice has helped in combating COVID-19. So they gave some figures here. Why the countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Korea, Japan and Bhutan, Mongolia, and to some extent in India, why the fatality rates in these Buddhist countries are less? To study, I am not saying it, I read the study, so I was also very curious to know that how did it happen like that. More so-called more prosperous nations faced more difficulty. But this Buddhist country and in India, the fatality rate is the lowest. Some of the Buddhist countries, nobody died actually. So, I mean, then I tried to study about that particular write-up. Then I found that the Buddhist teaching and the way of life, the disciplined life, and the herbal medicine, how you use in your way of life, and your basic style, how do you actually carry forward your lifestyle in daily basis. These have a bearing on how your immune system is more powerful than the so-called more prosperous, more advanced countries. So these are something very interesting thing to study. If some of the scholars can throw some light on all these things also, it will be important and very interesting for the youth to understand and learn something out of that. So these are important things. We have many things to learn about Lord Buddha, and I myself am just an ordinary person, so I also have a lot to learn about Buddhist philosophy and its core values. So in this 2 days seminar, many things will unfold, many scholars will share their all experiences, all their ideas with the younger generation, and the lucky young generation, all these youth from different countries are going to get lot of benefit. My best wishes to all of you, especially the participants, and I would like to commend with my appreciation to my own ministry, Secretary Madam, Joint Secretary, the whole team, and my special thanks goes to the DG, Mr. Patnaik, who is a good friend of mine. When he was Deputy High Commissioner in London, I led an Indian delegation. I was immigration minister. We had good time in England. I know wherever he goes, he spreads the Indian value system across the different countries. It's a very good thing. So I compliment you. And of course, Mr. Professor Devnath, as always, is very hardworking, very learned professor. He has always been very professional in terms of organizing this kind of event to the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development in Coimbatore. And all those scholars, venerable learned Buddhist teachers who are here in this conference, I salute you all for keeping the spirit and teachings of Lord Buddha alive, and then let it pass on to the next generation of our population. Best wishes to everyone for a successful international conference. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir, for your succinct and scintillating message for the youth on the core values of Buddhism and for highlighting the theme of the conference. We also thank you for declaring the conference open. May I now request Professor Vasanthi Rajendran, the head of the Center for National and International Collaboration, RGNIYD, to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, David. It's my privilege and pleasure to formally propose the vote of thanks. Let me begin by thanking our chief guest of the day, the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Youth Affairs and Sports, Minority Affairs and Ayush, Government of India, Shri Kiran Rijiju ji, who has graciously accepted our invitation to be in our midst to inaugurate this international conference and deliver the presidential address. On behalf of RGNYD and ICCR, I profusely thank you, sir, for your honorable presence on this occasion and for your very insightful address to the youth on inculcating time-honored values as enshrined in the Buddhist philosophy. You are an inspiration to RGNYD, and we are ever thankful to you for your continued patronage, guidance, and support. Your dynamic leadership has meant so much to us. We express our gratefulness to you for your kind support for making this international conference our sincere thanks to you, sir, for all your benevolent guidance to RGNYD from time to time. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to Sri Sanjay Vedi, Senior Program Officer of ICCR, for his constant support throughout the period of pre-conference arrangements and also mobilizing the participants from 29 countries. We also have with us a galaxy of renowned scholars from 8 countries who have responded with enthusiasm to our invitation and are going to present the essence of Buddhist philosophy and the values that it inculcates in the youth. We thank each one of you for taking time and being with us. The conference is for young participants from various countries. We are really overwhelmed by the positive response from the youth across the globe, and we strongly believe who are participating in this conference, and we strongly believe that each one of you will immensely benefit from this conference. I also would like to place on record our sincere appreciation to all the officials, faculty and staff of RGNYD and ICCR for their support in organizing this conference. Thank you very much.
We will now adjourn this inaugural session. We will now move on to the technical sessions of this international virtual conference. I now request Professor Vasanthi Rajendran, Professor and Head of the Center for National and International Collaboration, RGNYD, to moderate the technical sessions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, David. Through this 3-day conference, we have 23 sessions from renowned and reputed scholars who will be presenting on various issues of Buddhist philosophy and how it impacts the youth across the country, across the globe. For today's session, we have 4 sessions scheduled, and we will begin with the first session, that is the message of Buddha to the youth by Professor C. Upendra Rao. I have the honor of introducing the respected Professor C. Upendra Rao. Professor Upendra Rao is currently a professor in the School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. His areas of specialization include Pali, Buddhist literature, Sanskrit literature, and poetics. He has taught Sanskrit at Hua Quang Buddhist Monastery in Vietnam, and Professor Rao was a visiting professor in Cambodia on ICCR Chair of Buddhist Studies, Latvia University, Riga, Latvia, Europe, and National University of Kiev, Ukraine. Currently, he is a member of the Academic Council and Research Expert Committee of various Indian universities, such as Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, Benares Hindu University, Osmania University, and Lal Bahadur Shastri Rashtriya Sanskrit Vidyapita. Professor Rao has authored and edited 22 books, besides extensively publishing research papers in Sanskrit, Pali, Hindi, Telugu, and English languages. Presently, he is working on imperative Indic issues related to Sanskrit and Pali inscriptions of Southeast Asia, mainly in Cambodia. He is a member of the Global Encyclopedia of Ramayana of Ayodhya Research Institute and is serving on several expert committees of ICCR, Government of India. I now request Professor C. Upendra Rao to deliver his session.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam, for introducing me. And let me also start my PowerPoint. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
have to maximize it, sir.
I will maximize, yeah. At the outset, I would like to thank the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, situated at Pennaluru of Sri Perumbudur, Tamil Nadu of India, and also ICCR in New Delhi. I'm grateful to the Director of Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development and his team for inviting me to speak few words to the international audiences on Buddha's message to the youth in the 3-day International Conference on Buddhist Philosophy and its role in inculcating values among the youth. Dear friends, my topic is the message of Buddha to the youth. The entire preaching of Buddha can be treated as a great message to the youth. If you open the books of Buddhist philosophy and evaluate, you will see the hundreds of teachings of Buddha which are completely humanistic. But the values of Buddha Dharma are not just humanistic, they are also spiritual. Buddha's teachings have influenced all nations in Europe, as well as all nations in Asia and other countries in other continents on this globe. His preaching was a favorite idea for the Stoics, and it found favor with the Schopenhauer, von Hartmann. The full name of von Hartmann was Karl Robert Edward von Hartmann. The philosophical pessimism was strong in the 19th century and was represented in the systems of Arthur Schopenhauer and Karl Robert Edward von Hartmann. Buddha's preaching was a favorite to these philosophers and to the modern philosophers as well. Buddhism offers a large field of knowledge and has entered and influenced the large part of the world. Sri Lanka, Burma, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and other countries in Southeast Asia and Tibet, the whole Central Asia, China, Mongolia, Korea, Japan. The humanistic values preached by Buddha have influenced the history and culture of these countries. They gave rise to many literary, philosophical, and artistic works of these regions and countries. Therefore, the importance of Buddha's message to the youth is very significant. That is why I have chosen this topic the message of Buddha to the youth. Buddha's message leads us towards the truth and non-violence. And he advised the youth to be cautious with the causes of the worldly miseries, lust and ignorance. Everyone in the world must face the 4 kinds of conditions in course of his lifetime. They are just the 4 conditions are gain and loss. Everyone in his lifetime has to face these 2 conditions, 4 conditions. They are in pairs: gain and loss, honor and dishonor, praise and blame, happiness and sorrow. Once again, I am reading. The 4 conditions are gain and loss, honor and dishonor, praise and blame, happiness and sorrow. These opposite situations have to be faced by everyone in the world. Interestingly, everyone enjoys the profits. But the problem which arises in the case of losses, the losses are unwanted for everyone. Nobody wants losses. The losses often lead to the mental agony. But it is under such circumstances, one should show the high moral courage. The cure which Buddha suggested was the removal of ignorance. Because why we are facing this agony? Due to the ignorance. The cure, that is why Buddha suggested, was the removal of ignorance and to be alert. He said, appamada. Appamada is to be alert. What Buddha said, appamado amatapadam, pamado machunopadam, appamatta na miyanti, ye pamatta yatha mata. Attention leads to the immortality. You see what Buddha says, attention leads to the immortality. Carelessness leads to the death. Little carelessness leads to death. Those who pay attention will not die, while the careless are as good as dead already. That's what Buddha says. Ignorance, he says about the ignorance, indeed, according to Gautama, ignorance causes the misery of life. Therefore, this ignorance stands first in the chain of causation, paticca samuppada. How it stands first? Avijja, pachaya, sankara, which means ignorance is a root cause for immoral actions and thoughts. Avijja nirodha, sankara nirodho. Therefore, when we stop this avijja, the sankara will also be stopped. Avijja nirodha, sankara nirodho. But the problem is just by reading and recitation, the suffering is not going to stop. Our minds need to realize how suffering arises due to the immoral actions and thoughts. In Buddha Dharma, ignorance is described as not understanding the 4 noble human values. This is very important. What is ignorance in Buddha Dharma? Not understanding the 4 noble human values. Because avidya also is there in Vedanta, but that avidya is this ignorance expounded by the Buddha is different from the Vedantic ignorance. In Vedanta, ajnana is the cause of all kinds of illusions, and it is defined as beginningless. Yet it is removable by the knowledge. In Buddha Dharma, ignorance is described as not understanding the Four Noble Truths perfectly. What are the Four Noble Truths? Dukkho, Dukkha Samadayo, Dukkha Nirodho, Dukkha Nirodhagamini, Patipada, Arya Satcho. Means suffering, the origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the way which leads to the cessation of suffering. These are the four noble human values. These are the four truths. So not understanding these four truths is ignorance, according to the Dharma. When we discuss about the message of the Buddha for the youth, we remember the name of Swami Vivekananda in India. The birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda is celebrated as a National Youth Day in India. Swami Vivekananda grew up as symbol of youth power, who hoisted the flag of Indian culture overseas. He fostered a new enthusiasm for the progress of the youth. Swami Vivekananda had sent a message from the Japan to Indian youth, let's be human. And he wanted the youth to serve the humanity. But thousands of years ago, Bhagavan Buddha gave more vibrant message to the world. Buddha's message what was the Buddha's message? Buddha's message to the youth can be summarized based on the Mahaparinirvana Sutta. According to Buddha, as long as youth possesses 7 kinds of qualities, there will be prosperity and growth, not decline. 7 conditions of welfare are assembling regularly, assembling unanimously and rise unanimously, carrying out their duties unanimously, not establishing the new rules by neglecting the old rules, honoring the elders, developing a desire to reside in a calm and silent place, attending the ways of mindfulness. According to Buddha, as long as youth possesses these qualities, there will be a prosperity and growth, not the decline. Buddha, Ajatashattu and Vajji, this incident took in between these 3 people. That is why I gave this heading. Once when Buddha resided on the Gijjakuta mountain, the Vassakara Brahmana, who was Ajatasattu's prime minister, came to visit the Buddha and informed Buddha of Ajatasattu's plan to expand his kingdom and his intention to invade the Vajji Republic. But the Buddha advised the Vajjis, but Buddha advised that the Vajjiyans could not be won by force because they keep their unity properly. Satta aparihaniya dhamma, he says in this context. Buddha teaches Satta aparihaniya dhamma, 7 conditions of welfare, which we come across in Mahaparinibbana Sutta of Digha Nikaya. Mahaparinibbana Sutta of Digha Nikaya, evam me sutam ekam samayam Bhagava Rajagihe Viharati Gijjakute Pabbate. It's a bit long, it's a continuing prose, but I am avoiding to read all those things. Then the Vassakara Brahmana says, Raja Bhante Magadho Ajatasattu Vedehi Putto Vajji Abhayatu Kamo. Which means Bhante, King Ajatasattu wants to invade Vajjiyans. Then Bhagavan Buddha says, Yavakinancha Ananda, Vajji, Abhinham, Sandipata Bahula, Bhavissanti, Buddhi Eva Ananda, Vajjinam, Patikankhanu, Parihani. As long as the Vajjiyans will assemble regularly and assemble frequently, surely progress is to be expected for the Vajjiyans, not the decline. Then what are the Satta Aparihaniya Dhamma for Bhikshus also, he said. Then giving the similar preaching to his disciples, Bhagavan Buddha says, as long as the monks will assemble regularly, surely there will be a progress for the monks, not the decline. As long as the monks will assemble unanimously, there will be progress, not the decline. As long as the monks do not establish new laws that are already established, they have to follow them, then there will not be any decline, only progress. As long as monks respect elderly monks, respect them, revere, worship, honor them, and listen to them, surely there will be progress for the monks, not decline. As long as the monks will not come under the influence of craving, there will be progress, but not the decline. As long as the monks will have desire for the forest dwelling, not town dwelling, forest dwelling, surely there will be a progress for the monks, not the decline. As long as the monks individually will attend to the ways of mindfulness, surely there will be progress for the monks, not the decline. So this message of the Buddha can be accepted by the youth of the world today. Therefore, today, youth have indulged in worldly pleasures. If you see the condition of the youth, today the youth have indulged in worldly pleasures, and their aim seems to be just earning the bread and butter. Today, our youth needs to be encouraged because they are indulged in violence in public places. This has sparked a great controversy among our citizens and government leaders. Youth are under the influence of bullying, drugs and alcohol, obesity problems. But behind all these problems, as my previous speakers were telling, the major problem which today's youth is confronting is the mental health problems. Mental health is definitely one of the top social issues today. Mental health is definitely one of the top social issues today. The depression, anxiety, and other related disorders affect on the youth's college performance, their social interactions, and overall well-being. You can find many wonderful teachings of Bhagavan Buddha in Dhammapada. The Dhammapada contains the collection of preaching of the Buddha. Therefore, this text means Dhammapada text is known as Buddha Vachana. There are 26 Vaggas and 423 Gathas in the Dhammapada. The entire summary of Buddhist philosophy is put forth in these 423 Gathas. That's why Dhammapada became famous. What is the message of Buddha? Bhagavan Buddha has always paved the way to solve problems that are interpersonal and ethnic, economic, and social. In Dhammapada, we can find the best message of the Buddha to the youth, which can help to resolve the conflicts for benefiting the society. Bhagavan Buddha advised the youth to be alert and mentally be healthy. The disciplined mind, Buddha always speaks about the mind. So that is why I always say that there is so much relation between Yoga Shastra and Buddha's teachings. Because yoga also is completely a science on the yoga and the mind. Buddha also speaks on the science of the mind. Very Dhammapada also beginning with the Mano Pubangama Dhamma with this verse. So disciplined mind is strong and effective, while the wavering mind is weak and ineffective. Therefore, the wise people train their minds as thoroughly as horse trainers train their horses. So Buddha gives the example, because horse, first in the beginning, it will never listen to your words. It cannot understand your commands. But horse trainers know how to train the horses. So in what way horse trainers slowly, gradually train the horses? In the same way, one has to train his mind, he says. Buddha says, Bandhanam chapalam chittam. About the mind, Buddha says very interesting things. Bandhanam chapalam chittam, durakham durnivarayam, ujum karoti medhavi, usukarova tejanam. This is from Dhammapada. Dunniggahassa lahuno, yathakama nipatino, chittassa damatho sadhu, chittam dantam sukhavaha. You should know the meaning of these two gadhas. It is good to restrain one's mind, which is uncontrollable. It is good to restrain one's mind. He is describing now how his mind, which is uncontrollable, fast moving, and free. It is free. It will go freely everywhere, following its own desires. Because a disciplined mind leads to the happiness. Just as the Fletcher means usukara, the person who prepares arrows, who sharpens arrows and prepares arrows, is called Fletcher in English, usukara in Pali. In Sanskrit, we call it ishukara. Ishu is arrow in Sanskrit. In Pali, it becomes usu. Usukara straightens. Usukara straightens an arrow. Even so, discerning man straightens his mind, which is very fickle and unsteady and difficult to guard. So, Buddha says about this, to establish the harmony in society, it is essential to understand and to follow these words of the Buddha in a practical way. A person should be given importance on the basis of his or her deeds and merits, and should not be discriminated on the basis of the accidental birth. Buddha spoke the importance of the purity of the mind. Mano pubbangama dhamma, mano settha manomaya, manasache paduttena, bhasativa karotiva, tatonam dukkhamanveti, chakkamba bhato padam, mano pubbangama dhamma, mano settha manomaya, manasache pasannena, bhasativa karotiva, tatonam sukhamanveti, chayava anapayini. Therefore, I am not explaining the meaning of these two gadhas because they are very popular and everybody almost know. Therefore, Buddha laid stress on the purity of the mind, for which one has to remove the mental defilements. Taking bath in different rivers does not purify a man if he has given up his mental defilements. He is treated as taken bath without taking the physical bath. Wrongly directed mind is most harmful to men. It motivates them to perform the wrong and sinful deeds. Buddha says, Diso disam yam tam kaira, veri vapana verinam, michha panihitam chittam, papinotam tato kare. But a rightly directed mind does more welfare than any person in the world. Dhammapada says the rightly directed mind does more welfare to a person than any other person or any in the world. And then Buddha teaches about the 4 Brahma Viharas. Buddha's teaching of Brahma Viharas is very impressive and must be followed by all human beings in the world, not only youth. The 4 Brahma Viharas are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, and Upeksha. Maitri means mindfulness, the friendliness or loving kindness. Karuna means compassion. Mudita is sympathetic joy. Upeksha is equanimity or indifference. Enmity arises due to the clash of interests. Feeling of supremacy and rivalry. Finding an opportunity, a defeated person attacks his opponent, and thus enmity is born and grown. Therefore, Buddha says, Jayam Veram Pasavati, Dukkham Seti Parajito, Upasanto Sukham Seti, Hitva Jaya Parajayanti. To get rid of feeling of enmity, one should not have the feeling of victory and defeat. To establish pleasures and peace in life, one should keep in mind the following Buddha Vachana. Akochimam avadhimam ajinimam ahasime. Yechatam upanayyanti veram tesam nasammati. Akochimam avadhimam ajinimam ahasime. Yechatam nupanayyanti veram tesupasammati. Nahi verena verani sammanti dha kudashanam. Averena cha sammanti yesa dhammo sanantano. This is from Kuddaka Nikaya because Dhammapada is from Kuddaka Nikaya. If I and others find fear and grief equally unpleasant, then what is the special thing in me that I should save myself and not others? This is said by Shantideva in Mahayana Buddhism, in Bodhicharya Avatar. Yada mama pareshancha bhayam dukkhancha napriyam tadatmana kobi.
I think there is some technical issues with our speaker, Professor Upendra Rao. Since also we are running behind schedule for the other sessions, we thank Professor Upendra Rao for his wonderful session on message of Buddha to the youth, and we request the participants to reserve all their questions or any queries to the end of after we complete all the scheduled today, so that we can save on time. So we will now move on to the second session of today's technical session, which will be by Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero from Sri Lanka. It's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero from Sri Lanka, who is currently pursuing his higher studies in the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies in the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He holds a bachelor's degree in Buddhist philosophy from the University of Jayawardhanapura and has pursued his MA in Buddhist counseling. He has published numerous research articles in various journals of Buddhist philosophy. He has acquired various advanced level diploma in human resource management, information technology, advanced English, and also has undergone a specialized Dharmacharya program. I now request our Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero to deliver his speech on role of Buddhist philosophy behind positive mental health. Over to you, sir. Venerable Gattare Chandananda Tero, please start your session. Are you having some technical problems? Can you please put it in the chat box so that we will be able to move forward? Again, there seems to be some technical issue. Venerable Gattare Chandananda Tero. Obviously, there is some issue. So because we are already behind schedule for the for all the other sessions, I think I will request Professor Venerable Gattare Chandana Tero to please resolve his technical issue. And meanwhile, we will begin the other session scheduled today by Professor KTS Sarao, who will speak on Buddhist philosophy, its relevance in today's globalizing world. Professor K.T.S. Sarao is currently working as a professor and head Department of Buddhist Studies, University of Delhi. He has also served as chair of Buddhist and Sanskrit studies in various illustrious universities in Cambodia, France, and is an annual visiting professor in South Korea, Taiwan, Austria, including McMaster University, Hamilton, Canada, and other countries. He specialized in Indian Buddhism, Udasin Parampara Vedanta, Ashoki Brahmi script, ancient Indian history, culture and archaeology, pilgrimage, interfaith dialogue, and ancient Indian religions. Professor Sarao has significantly traveled, researched, and studied in India, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and the list is very long. He has also around 92 peer-reviewed papers, 73 articles, 11 book reviews, and 136 entries in encyclopedia in his name. It's really fortunate for us to have you with us in this conference, sir. We request you to kindly present your session on Buddhist philosophy, its relevance in today's globalizing world.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm really grateful. I would like to share the screen. I hope is my screen visible, ma'am?
It's just coming, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is my screen visible now? There are all kinds of issues.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As Professor Rajendran announced, my topic is basically about the relevance of Buddhist philosophy in today's globalizing world. In my paper, what I have basically discussed is that the problems that today's world is facing basically are of two types. One is the natural problems that obviously are bound to occur as a result of the wear and tear of the samsara. Sooner or later, the world itself will come to an end. Sun will exhaust itself. Moon will move away from the earth. Every year it moves a few centimeters away from the earth, and as a result, the earth has been becoming more and more unstable. Various kinds of non-renewable resources will get exhausted. Probably we will create all kinds of other things will happen naturally, and there is very little that we can do about that. But the issue is the man-made problems that exist in the world, basically as a result of our actions. For example, it seems as if the humans have multiplied themselves on the face of this earth many times more than there should be. And as a result of this overpopulation, we have all kinds of other issues that go with this overpopulation. Poverty, for example, unequal distribution of resources, then pollution and overuse of non-renewable resources, so on and so forth. Even if you look very carefully about the kind of developments that have taken place as a result of man-made problems resulting from volitional and karma of humans. Even things like the Chinese plague could be seen a result of human actions which are kind of wrong actions. So this is what we will talk about, I have talked about in my paper, where I have tried to show that Buddhism looks at the world very differently than the materialistic globalizing world that is actually that has taken over the world today. And in this world, we have basically overlooked the real needs of humans, and the whole system is being pushed into a direction whereby more and more greed and more competition is created in the world. And this has led to all kinds of issues that the world is today facing. As I said, the two very important problems in today's world are poverty and unequal access to resources. This is a very serious problem. And the Buddha, even during his days, shows a lot of concern about such issues. For example, in the Aganya Sutta, the Buddha says that private property, just like what Karl Marx and Engels say in Origin of Family, Private Property and State, the Buddha says it is the family, institution of family, and then this institution of family, me and mine, my family and my children, and slowly has resulted in kind of arrogance of private property. And in the Aganya Sutta, the Buddha says that, so you have the origin of family, and then you have the origin of private property, and then because of this private property, you have the origin of state. Because initially in this sutta, the Buddha says that in the beginning of the time, everybody was equal, everybody had access to resources, and so there was no problem. And everybody could go on a daily basis to nature to fulfill his or her needs. And so there was no problem. But suddenly some wise guys decided to, instead of going daily to nature, gather food for a week or for a month. And when this kind of thing started, nature ran short of provisions and resources. And then people started laying claim to, this is my area, that is my area, and you are not allowed to come here, you cannot use this area, you can't use these trees, they belong to me, so on and so forth. So private property comes into origin. And then obviously some people were left with no property, no access to these resources. And obviously what does the poor person do? The poor person will steal, because he's been left with no choice by us. And so when he steals, and then you would like to stop him from stealing. And so the state comes into origin. Exactly what Karl Marx and Engels say in this book, Origin of Family, Private Property and State, Buddha says exactly the same. So the Buddha says, as long as you have poverty, denial of access to resources, as long as you have these problems, it is impossible to imagine happiness and peace in the world. It is because of this kind of understanding of the world issues by the Buddha that some scholars have actually called the Buddha the first communist of the world. A kind of praising the Buddha, they have said, some scholars, that the Buddha was the first communist in the world, because Buddha was the first person who talks about equal and egalitarian access to resources. Until that is done, it is impossible to think in terms of peace in the world. It simply is not possible. For example, look at today's situation in the world. Just 2% population of the world owns more than 90% of the resources. and wealthy people are seen to be extremely insensitive from Buddhist perspective. So the Buddha said, as long as you have this kind of very unfair division of resources, where a major chunk of the population is denied access to the resources, you just simply cannot imagine of peace and happiness in the world. It's not possible. You have to first solve this problem. So this is one problem. And as a result of basically the culprits who are seen as the rich people who are seen as the major culprits, because poor person is forced to commit crime, but the rich person commits crime because it's part of the business for this rich person. So this is one issue. And also as a result of this kind of behavior, the way the world is getting globalized, some well-documented research has been conducted on this issue. For example, this very famous book called Limits to Growth by Meadows and Meadows. In this book, this couple, they have a large team of researchers, and over a long period of time, they have shown that, let us say, the variables and all the invariables are taken into account. We take into account that industrial production will happen, more food will be produced, more pollution will be produced, more population, world population will grow, and pollution and other issues, some improvements will take place in this, and some things will become worse. And if at all, the way the world is growing today, if the world is allowed to function exactly like this, the way the world is getting globalized, so Meadows and Meadows have said that in the 21st century itself, the world will completely collapse. Human might literally blow themselves out of existence in this world. There are quite a few other well-documented studies that have been done whereby it has been shown that almost on a regular basis, every 2-3 years, the chances of humans destroying the entire planet Earth as a result of their selfish actions is increasing. It's somewhere now 53-54%. Some kind of study that has been done. One study was done at Cambridge University where I was a student about 30 years ago. And over there they used all the parameters, variables and constants, and they said that the chance of humans destroying the world themselves is about 53% at the time, and it's increasing. Why? Because humans, due to their selfish actions, all kinds of stupidities, are moving completely into the wrong direction. As the Buddha calls it, agati gaman, wrong direction, moving in the wrong path. Now, so from Buddhist perspective, what very serious issue is how to get rid of deprivation, scarcity, and poverty. The Buddha suggests that the most important thing is santushti, satisfaction, santupti in Pali, with minimum. A good human being is the one who can satisfy himself with minimum. If I need only, say, 5 shirts, there is no reason that I should buy 6 shirts. I should be satisfied with 5 because 5 are enough. But the Buddha says that the problem with the world is that we consider buying more and more as a kind of sign of development, modernization, and growth, which is not correct. Couple of scholars like Erich Fromm have done fairly well-documented research again on these issues. Erich Fromm was a psychologist. He's from Switzerland. He spent many years in the United States of America. He did a very serious study of Buddhist sutras. And he says that human greed has created all kinds of issues whereby we have completely forgotten to take into consideration as to what humankind needs. We basically think as to what the system needs, how the system can be further perpetuated. For example, every country in the world talks in terms of 10% growth, 5% growth, 7% growth, more cars are being produced, and more clothes are being produced, and then the distribution is very faulty. Now, someday this has come to an end because there are all kinds of resources which will get exhausted. More pollution is being created. And so Eric Fromm says there is a limit to this kind of growth, this kind of stupidity that is taking place in the world. So increased consumption and craving, as the Buddha said, will not necessarily lead to happiness. Now, this is also very important to remember that today's politicians and bureaucrats and policymakers think that if enough food and housing can be created, the world will become a happy place. That is, if the basic needs of all the human beings can be met, the world will become a happy place. Not true. From Buddhist perspective, this is the most foolish thing that you could say or do. For example, in a country like the United States of America and Canada, where I've spent about half of my lifetime, they produce much more than they need. But even there, you have all kinds of crazy crimes being committed. You see rampant poverty in the United States of America. Right in Washington, you can see hundreds and hundreds of poor people sleeping on the pavement, homeless people, people who have absolutely nothing. So from Buddhist perspective, of course, the basic needs of humans must be met. That is very important because without meeting them, you cannot do anything. But the question from Buddhist perspective is that even animals have the same basic needs. So if you feed humans and clothe humans and provide housing to them, these needs are met, still there is absolutely no kind of I mean, still, there is no guarantee that humans will become good humans. So from Buddhist perspective, growth and development must be mixed with the value system, proper value system that a society should have. That must be put in place. Otherwise, you meet the basic needs of the humans, as, for example, it has happened in some countries like the United States of America, Canada, G7 countries. There you have even more serious problems. And so therefore, value system has to be taught. Sensitization. And from Buddhist perspective and some documentary, some well-documented research that has been done, it has been shown that there is a specific period in the life of a human being when a human being can be taught this kind of value system, sensitization of humans. This is very important. And that sensitization takes place at a very young age. So that's why proper training of the youth is very important. Now let me give you an example which I often see with my colleagues at Delhi University. By the way, I retired last year. I no longer work at the university. I taught at Delhi University for 41 years, but I have retired now. Now at Delhi University, I often saw whenever we professors used to have, say, party, some kind of lunch meeting or dinner meeting, you see a typical professor puts more food in his plate than he can eat. It's not that the professor is a stupid fellow. The guy has got maybe 2 PhDs and has done a lot of research. However, despite this person's education, he is so bad. He is clearly wasting food. Something like 80-90% of the professors put more food in their plates than they can eat. I mean, why can't you take smaller amounts of food, take maybe 2-3 times, but don't waste it? And when you walk up to a professor and say, Professor, this and this, I think you have wasted food, don't you think it's... Instead of realizing his mistake, he starts shouting back at you. It's none of your business, so on and so forth. Why? It's not that this person is stupid. This person is a proper, smart, intelligent person. The only problem is that this person has never been sensitized to the question that he wasting some food could cause somebody's death, because there is always scarcity in the scarcity of food and resources. So this person is wasting, and this waste could be responsible for somebody's death. This person doesn't simply realize. He has never been taught. He has never been sensitized. It's too late to sensitize this person. So it is young age where a person can be sensitized. Old people, grown-up people, it's not so easy to sensitize. And so in the globalizing world, we have become so very selfish. We have become such an integral part of this globalization, which is profit-oriented, where only profit is important, nothing else is important. Human values actually are not important in this globalizing world. the companies and the stock markets where you invest your wealth, their only goal is, their only mandate is to maximize profits, give more and more returns. So all these companies and all these multinational persons, they create so much pollution, so many problems. They are not really bothered. So they deliberately avoid paying income tax. They deliberately dump their wastage in those poorer societies. They do all kinds of nasty things. Professor Amartya Sen, for example, did his PhD on this issue of distribution of resources. He says in his thesis that the major famines that have taken place in the world, where millions and millions of people lost their lives, the major reason of this kind of death and destruction as a result of these famines was not scarcity of food. It was actually manipulation of the distribution. Some people, to enhance their profits, they interfered with the distribution, they created scarcities. For example, look at today's India. I come from Punjab. The wheat and rice that was bought 3 years ago is still rotting in the mandis of Punjab, in the stores, Food Corporation of India and all kinds of places. It's rotting. And at the same time, we know there are some parts of India where people are starving. There is no food. Why have we done this? Because we have put a system in place which creates this kind of problems in the world. So from Buddhist perspective, this is very, very selfish of human beings to do this. And so therefore it is very important for humans to mix spiritual and moral values with the kind of development that is happening in the world. So instead of paying attention to goods, creation of goods, we must pay attention to the needs of the humans. What are the basic needs of humans? So a kind of revolution in fairness also must take place in the world. We must somehow think of a system whereby millions and millions citizens of this world who are completely denied access to resources, somehow they must have access to resources. So we have top billion people who own say 90% or 94% of the resources of the world, and then you have only 1.4% of the resources of the rest of the 90% population of the world. How can you have peace in the world? So it's very important to do something about it. And I mean, look at even today's India. Whatever kind of governments we have, it doesn't matter, because we have put a system in place which is so terrible. In Delhi city, for example, you have some very expensive, excellent English medium schools, where the crème de la crème, the richest, the most powerful people send their children. It was very expensive schools, excellent schools. But only maybe 1 or 2% of the population, which is very, very rich, has access to those. A poor person cannot afford to send their children. Poor people cannot even go near the gate of these schools. And then 90% or 95, 96, 97, 98% of the population of Delhi, forget about the countryside, goes to schools where you do not even have furniture, teacher doesn't come, and teacher doesn't even know how to teach. And then the medium the system where a person who has been educated in English medium schools, who speaks very nice English with an accent, this person controls the world. You heard all these bureaucrats in the earlier session. They are all from those kind of well-oiled, well-heeled backgrounds. And what happens to a poor Dalit or a poor tribal person in the countryside? Even after 70 years of India's independence, poor people in the countryside, especially the Dalits, the tribals, have absolutely no access to resources. Such a disgrace. And from Buddhist perspective, when you have this kind of criminal behavior of our system, our governments, our bureaucrats, us professors, we have clearly put a system in place where a typical poor citizen of this country, in the last 70 years, still, despite all these silly reservations which are very biased, only some portion, cream of those tribal communities or Dalits have manipulated and they keep on perpetuating that a typical Dalit or a typical tribal in the country has no access. They simply cannot compete. There is no way. And right in the capital of this country, you have such expensive, fantastic schools. And then you have next door a school where children even today sit on the floor, barefoot, khana tak nahi hai. So the Buddha says, as long as you have this kind of unequal distribution in the world, it is impossible to think of peace. So the Buddha, the most important thing the Buddha says is wide distribution of basic necessities to the entire population. Basic needs, of course, must be met. And then with that, of course, moral, ethical education is also important, because you would like to sensitize this person to be a good human being. A person who has come through this kind of sensitization, this person, whenever he is eating food, this person has 4 chapatis, he's a hungry person sitting next to him. Even when he eats 4 chapatis, he will share his 2 chapatis with this person, would share. So the Buddha says sharing is very, very important if you want to create happiness in this world. And so from Buddhist perspective, it's very important. The first important thing is all those people who are well-heeled, well-oiled, rich people, they must voluntarily adopt poverty. I, as a professor, must live like a poor person. I may be getting 300,000 rupees per month. I must share a portion of it because it is too much of salary. I'm getting too much of money from the government. I don't deserve 300,000 rupees a month. My monthly expenses are only 20,000 rupees. So 2,80,000 rupees is extra that the government is paying. It's terrible. And in my own government, a poor chaprasi is getting only 5,000 rupees. Maybe my salary is 60 times more. So the Buddha says, even a professor, even a rich person, a good human being must voluntarily adopt poverty, live simply, a simple life. Fewness of desires. The barometer to measure a person's decency, goodness is fewness of desires, a picture. How few your desires are, with how much minimum you can live a happy life. Frugality of consumption, you will not waste. And completely avoiding wastefulness. As I was giving you the examples of professors of my university, the Buddha gives an example of a person. He is called Udumbar Khadika, fig tree glutton. There was a man who was passing through the forest and he sees this fig tree with lot of beautiful fruit. He starts shaking it. All the fruit fall down, kilograms and kilograms of fruit. He eats 2, 3 and then walks away. So the Buddha says, why did he do that? Why did he have to do that? He needed only 4 or 5, could have eaten 4 or 5. He destroyed the entire tree, kept on shaking it. And you ask this person, he doesn't even understand. He's so stupid. I go for long trekking with my friends. I see that when my friends and we are walking through the forest, all of them in where we are plucking, flowers or leaves, chewing them with their mouth, doing all kinds of things. Have no control over their bodies. So the Buddha says, this is a typical citizen of the world. This Udumbar Khadika. He's a glutton, he doesn't really understand. Compassion and love and generosity and liberality and empathy, concern, restraint and sharing. A person must be sensitized to these values. If I see a person outside my house who needs help, who has met an accident or is poor, and I'm in a position to help, I must help. If somebody has met an accident and I look the other way, I'm a terrible person. Being a professor and with the PhD from Cambridge is a disgrace. I must be put in prison. I'm so irresponsible from Buddhist perspective. So the Buddha in his sutras time and again says that this kind of value system is very important. You see somebody who needs help, you must. And then the Buddha's very beautiful, this doctrine of karma and rebirth, very interesting. So the Buddha says, till we attain nirvana, we are born again and again and again. Hinduism also believes in the same. Again and again, you remain in the samsara. You are born, you grow old, you die, you are again born, depending upon the quality of your karma. You continue to be born again and again. And every living being is born billions and billions of times. What does it mean? all the dogs outside my house who keep on barking at night and keep on disturbing me are also my relatives from the past or maybe in the future. And a Dalit, a poor Dalit whom I have hurt or harmed, most probably is my grandfather, who's reborn again. And also the chicken that I eat in the restaurant is quite possible is my great-grandfather. Because through rebirth across the species, we are all born again. So the Buddha says, any person who I think badly about or I end up harming actually is my relative from the past, is my family member, and could be my family member in the future as well, has to be. So therefore, don't limit your selfishness, your ego, only to your immediate family members and friends. Everybody is your family member. Everybody is related to you. We all have the same DNA. And so therefore, treat everybody as part of you. And so therefore, don't do anything that can cause harm to any living being, anything. So, relatedness with the world, sharing with the world, sacrificing for the world is very important. Without that, it's impossible to think of happiness in the world. So interconnectedness and interdependence, as I was telling now, these doctrines of karma and rebirth, everything is interdependent. We are all linked to each other through past births and through future births. So you are all my brothers and sisters, my family members. So anybody I think badly about, also the Buddha says cooperation. Now, for example, if let us say there is one post of professor, there are 50 candidates, ek hi ko milegi, only one can get it. Whoever gets it through pull and pressure, through connections or through merit. And even if I keep on crying over it, keep on shouting, keep on feeling bad, destroy my lipid profile, it is not going to matter ultimately because only one person is. So if we compete, we learn to live with each other, the world will be a happier place, the Buddha says. Now, so because time allotted is only half an hour, I'm sorry, maybe I have already exceeded. So I will stop here by saying that, as Elgin has said on the basis of Buddha Vachan, Elgin says that we must live with a reasonable degree of equity, fairness. And otherwise it will be unrealistic to think that in today's world, which is communications rich, that when you have, on one side you have absolute poverty, and on other side you have shameless richness. Shameless richness. As long as you have this kind of division in the world, it is impossible to think that we can have peace in the world. So that's why many people have called the Buddha a communist as a praise. But this has to happen. Every citizen of the world must have access to all the resources, equal access. If you can go to a very expensive English medium school, my child also must go there, must be allowed to go there. If you can go to the best surgeon in the best hospital, my child should also have access to that. And any system, any person who denies that, from Buddhist perspective, is a bad person and is responsible for creating unhappiness in this world. So, from Buddhist perspective, for the youth, it's very important that they must be sensitized to this value system. It doesn't matter whether it is Islam or Hinduism or Sikhism, all religions are good, all have very good value system. So this value system must be, people must be sensitized, youth, young people, because they are the only ones basically who can be properly sensitized. Old people like me, very difficult. So we need to overhaul our education, and I really hope the new education system that Mr. Modi's government has brought in, which will be implemented from next year, I think in that system we must place something in the system whereby our young people are sensitized to this kind of values. And also please remember, I will stop by saying this, that the Buddha is not dogmatic about his views. The Buddha says, this is my proposal, and there can be many other proposals. There can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to the same goal. I want to go from Bengaluru to Bombay. I can go via Chennai, or I can go via Goa, or whatever. There could be many routes. The route that suits you may not suit me, and vice versa. So the Buddha says that being dogmatic is also very harmful. So there has to be a kind of common consensus, as the Buddha says, and we must develop a kind of value system and put it in place, sensitize the citizens, and devise a system whereby every citizen, lowly of the lowliest, must have access to all the resources. Otherwise, impossible to think of peace. There shall be no peace in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Sarao, for that excellent exposition on Buddhist philosophy and its relevance in today's globalizing world. We thank you, and we reserve all the questions which will be addressed to you to the end of this day's sessions. We will now go on to the next session, which is on role of Buddhist philosophy behind positive mental health. This is by Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero from Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, he could not connect with us earlier, and he's back with us, and we are proud to introduce him. Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero is currently pursuing his higher studies in the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies in the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He holds a bachelor's degree in Buddhist philosophy from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura and has pursued MA in Buddhist counseling. He has published numerous research articles in various journals on Buddhist philosophy. He has acquired various advanced level diplomas in human resource management, information technology, advanced English, and also has undergone a specialized Dharmacharya program. We request the Venerable Gathare Chandananda Thero to deliver his speech. Sir Gathare Chandananda Thero, are you there? And there seems to be still some issues in his connectivity and network. So we will proceed to the next session, and we will have him. I hope, hopefully, after this session, he will be ready to join us. So we'll move on to the next session, which is on Buddhist philosophy and youth of Nepal. This is by Professor Dr. Ratna. And I'm happy to introduce him. Professor Ratna Bhattacharya is currently the Vice Chancellor of Lumbini Buddhist University in Nepal. Earlier, he had served the UGC, that is the University Grants Commission of Nepal, as a technical advisor for Higher Education Reforms Project. He is formerly the Executive Director of Research Center for Educational Development and Innovation, Tribhuvan University. He has also worked with intergovernmental and multilateral agencies like the Asian Development Bank, ADB, and UNESCO, as Higher Education Specialist for preparation of National Framework for Education 2030 based on Sustainable Development Goals. Professor Bhattacharya has published 3 books, 25 reports, and has several publications in journal, about 14 publications in the journal, and 10 seminar papers to his credit. Professor Ratna Bhattacharya, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam. Namaskar. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. First of all, my grateful thanks to the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute for Youth Development and Indian Council for Cultural Relation for giving me this opportunity to participate in this August conference. Well, the topic is already mentioned. With the permission of the chairperson of this session, I would like to proceed with my presentation. I'm talking from my mobile. My computer is not somehow working with the Cisco, so I couldn't bring my presentation online. I'll go through the points. My content outline, I have outlined my content in the following way. First, I'll be talking a little bit about what we understand by Buddhist philosophy in general from education perspective. And the second is youths. How do we understand youth? Who is youth? And then the third is what are the conditions of youths in Nepal, their scope, issues and challenges. And then Buddhist perspective regarding the question of life by the youths. And then we will be concluding with some future actions that we are undertaking. Let me start by saying Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Ratnatriyaya. Actually, these three important aspects, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, they put Buddhist philosophy in a very beautiful way, like jewels, 3 jewels, in a very simple, understandable aspect. As we have already discussed also, that Buddha is the one who has attained Samyak Sambodhi, a stage of enlightenment that embodies knowledge, wisdom, and compassion towards all. So Buddha is not only person, but Buddha is also a great concept, a very eternal concept, combining knowledge, wisdom, and compassion. Buddha is the one who has attained Samyak Sambodhi, a stage of enlightenment. And that's why Buddha is considered as earlier Buddha was called Light of Asia. Now the world is discovering that in fact Buddha is the light for the world, for the people. And Dharma is the law and ethics for realization of the duties and responsibilities that follow from Samyak Sambodhi Gyan. Whoever has Samyak Sambodhi Gyan, his understanding of the duties and the responsibilities and ethics automatically becomes the Dhamma that will take us from dukkha to a situation where there is dukkha nivarana. And Sangha is endeavoring to practice Dharma, living and sharing together. It's a formation of community, it's a formation of society. So this is the way Buddha has, in a very simple way, taught humanity how we can move ahead. Although Buddha's knowledge, Buddha's vision of the world, Buddha's vision of life, it's beyond explanation within few days or even few years. But the three jewels that he started as Dharma Chakra Pravartan, it's a great that we can all understand and make it understood by others also in a simple way. This is exactly why Buddhism is attracting people all across different kinds of people, values, religion, even nations. Like a strong magnet, it is attracting people. It is simply because its central philosophy emphasizes on the fact that you are entirely responsible for what you are, what you do, and what consequences, instead of putting fate or boon or blessing or wrongdoing. This is the religion. Many people have adopted Buddhism as religion. But Buddhism, of course, is more than religion. But many people have taken this as religion as well. But even for those who have taken religion as religion, but then it doesn't give a central authority. It believes that there are gods and angels. Buddhism doesn't say that there are no gods or it is unethical, atheist. It still understands that there are gods and angels. But they have nothing to do with shaping your life. You are responsible for your own salvation and deeds and outcomes. Overall, Buddhist philosophy can be considered as the science of mind, always with compassion. It generates values that are universal on the basis that are fundamental to human experiences and consciousness. Dhammapada has started with a stanza about the mind. So this is the Buddhist philosophy, or Buddha's philosophy, not Buddha's philosophy, rather Buddhist philosophy, which we can understand from education perspective and from the perspective of inculcating values among the youth. Now, youths, we have to understand youths, their conditions and the context. Nonetheless, youth is a phase of life, a phase of human life, which may be considered as the period of transition from Kishoravastha to adulthood. And everybody experiences, those who have passed that youth phase, like us, we have experienced many things, many changes, a very drastic change. And those who are coming to this youth stage, they are also experiencing changes day by day in terms of physical and in terms of psychological state of life. This is a very vigorous stage, very vigorous stage. Most drastic changes takes place in human life at this stage. Everything's come as new. It brings freshness, but sometimes very rashness also. We see many juvenile delinquencies. We see many crimes conducted by done by youths, knowingly, and in most cases unknowingly as well. They come with energy, such a full package of energy that it embodies a huge potentialities in terms of impacts on one's own life, as well as family, as well as society, nation, and the world. It is also a very crucial stage that sets future course of development of life individually. They may aspire and endeavor to become a productive person. Many people dream of becoming doctors or engineers, teachers, administrators, planners, so on and so forth. But they may turn out to become something not foreseen with positive or negative attributes as well, based on their attributes and actions, following the course of karma and karma vipaga, as explained by Buddha. Whatever the course, they embody energy that can force changes in a society, and therefore they are the future of a society. Youths are future of a society. Of course, youths themselves are part of society, but moreover, as the nation, as a society, as the family moves ahead, the future comes with the youths. Now, in Nepal, the demographic structure of Nepal has very interesting characteristics. I believe it also applies in India and many of our South Asian neighbors, that we have a huge bulge of youths in our population distribution. Our population median age is 22 years, which is opportune for youth mobilization for development. If we can prepare these youths following Buddha's philosophy, as we have described above earlier, then we'll have a very, very beautiful place, very unique place, and very influential place, like it was 2,000 years ago, or even 1,500 years ago, or even 1,000 years ago. Buddhism was in most part of the world that could be reached easily. 75% of Asia was covered by and governed by Buddhism. We can see Buddhism spread to Japan, to Korea, to China, to even to Indonesia, all over the world. So that had happened earlier. We have that potential even now. Having said this, but we are currently driven by the modernist development. And in the modernist development, we are measuring our society in terms of GDP, in terms of possession of goods, in terms of possession of this and that. And that way, we put ourselves in the poverty index at a lower state. But it is really challenging to really turn the wheel in the right direction, because youths in Nepal, it's not a homogeneous group. They come with many diversities. In fact, diversities are rather unique in Nepal's case. We have almost 125 social groups, many of them indigenous ethnic communities. Though small, we are about 30 million people, but nonetheless, we have 125 different communities, many of them ethnically different communities. And within these communities, we have a very unique influence of this South Asian culture, and that is caste. Hindu caste among Hindu communities. Of course, majority of population in Nepal are Hindus. Our population census shows 81%. And many other ethnic groups, though they are not Hindus, but then caste imposition have come on them as well, limiting across the society, actually, inflicting social segregation and distrust. And many has even imitated this caste system. Buddhists constitute about 9% of the population, nonetheless. And we have 123 language groups. About 14 of them have a significant population. Education status, so-so. we have about 60% of our youths at grade 12 level, higher secondary level in the schools, 15% of our youths, university age people in the universities. But then the challenge is that we have unemployment is a very big issue. Almost 12% are unemployed, and large proportion of our youths are underemployed. About 1/5 of our people lives below poverty line. So this is the scenario where our youths are living. They have to live with. Obviously, youths, as elsewhere in the world, generally need to struggle for finding a niche to ensure a respectable life in the society. Job, preparation for job seems singular concern of majority of youths everywhere in the world, and that includes Nepal as well. And this is reflected in the current condition of Nepal. We have huge outflow of youths in search of labor market elsewhere in other parts of the world. About 5 million people, they are outside country, working in many countries, looking for job as a labor, cheap labor, as a missionary army, as security guards, so on and so forth. Obviously, youths in Nepal also come with diverse perception, aspiration, and living conditions. However, and nonetheless, they share some common aspects, and they are born in the land of Buddha, where Buddha was born. They inherited the history of rise and fall of values given to Buddhism by state. And therefore, our youths, they respect Buddha, if not worship as the Lord. All, whether Hindu or whatever a religion, they all respect Buddha. Value being born in the land of Buddha. Everybody feels proud, and they give value that they are born in the land where Buddha was born. Respect and love to visit Buddhist shrines. Moreover, flexibility and adaptability is one of the strengths of Buddhism. It does not encourage for singular language or system, encourage diversity with only emphasis on the way, meditation, reflection, and analysis. This is also very important from education point of view, from the point of view that this could be a very good opportunity for bringing our youths into the line of Buddhism and Buddhist values. There is therefore high scope for studying Buddhist philosophy and following philosophy in shaping their lives. There is a potential and scope of educating the youths on the basis of Buddhist philosophy to enable them better understand the context, process, and dynamics of life, and prepare them with moral, attitude, skills, and knowledge required for ensuring peace, harmony, and prosperity in living with values and meaning that can be equated universally across the other individuals, communities, societies, and nations. Buddhist perspective and quest for life, it's very simple. Everybody can experience it in a very explicit way. Three keywords are very important, and that is bhava, bhaya, and dukkha. We have to live in the bhava, in the bhava sagar, in the world, and there we encounter bhaya, many bhayas, and of course we feel then dukkha. Buddha taught in a very vivid way how we can live with this kind of bhava, bhaya, and face dukkha. He has given, in a very simple way, the way for living, and that is Chatur Brahma Vihara. He has given a discipline, a conduct in the form of Panchashila, and he has given ways in training our life, in living our life in a very meaningful way, and that is Arya Ashtanga Marga. Buddha taught us to be mindful. Of course, we need to be mindful. Dhyana, Samyak Drishti, Samyak Smriti, Samyak Vyayam, Samyak Ajiva, such an important part and universal. Buddha also taught us the epistemology, how we can really understand them and how we can achieve them. The epistemology of Pragya, Shila, and Samadhi. Pragya, in my understanding, is knowledge, wisdom, compassion combined in a proactive way. So it is proactive wisdom, ethical discipline, and focused concentration to observe the true nature of bhava, bhaya, and dukkha. And that leads us to understanding of pratitya samudpada. And that also leads us to how we can free ourselves from them by following Panchashila and Ashtamarga. So this Buddhist perspective in the context of quest of life is very straightforward and could be brought as a main streamlining approach for inculcating values among our youths. Actually, if we look at the global development, now the United Nations has started global campaign for sustainable development since 2015. And in sustainable development, if you look at the foundation of sustainable development, three things are emphasized there. And that is, in order to achieve sustainable development, societies need to be knowledge-based. Our societies need to follow knowledge. Knowledge is the main driver of this 21st century. However, this knowledge-based society is not sufficient. People who live in society, they need to be prepared to act on the knowledge. So we need ethical citizenship. Ethical citizenship. This is the second aspect emphasized by this global campaign. And third is sustainable development, saving our earth, saving our nature, saving humanity, bringing humanity to highest level, highest realm of life, meaningful life, will not be possible with the effort of one person or one society or even one country. Rather, it should be shared by everybody. So partnership is very important. If we look at the foundational aspect, this is not different from Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Buddha, knowledge; Dharma, ethics; and Sangha, partnership. And that way, in Nepal, particularly I coming from Lumini Buddhist University, I'm so glad that I have opportunity to share this with you, that we are undertaking our courses following this Buddhist philosophy. Of course, our university is established to propagate Buddha's teaching, and therefore we are moving ahead with 4 strategies. First, we preserve and contextualize Buddhism and Buddhist culture and traditions. Second, we run professional and job-oriented entrepreneurial academic programs for the youths, following Buddhist philosophy and values. We only run those programs which comes within the framework of Buddhist philosophy and values. And third is interfacing with society through research and innovation for social transformation following Buddha's teachings. And the fourth is, of course, we have to network and collaborate with international scholars and institutions and the countries and societies. So this way we are moving ahead, and we are very hopeful that we will be able to really bring impact through our university activities in transforming our society and in inculcating Buddhist values among the youths. Now, I'm also hopeful because we have a rich cultural and historical background. Nepal, we have a dozen of almost 12 sites of importance listed as World Cultural Heritage. And out of that, 3 are Buddhist sites: Lumbini, the birthplace of Buddha, Swayambhu, and the Bodhanath. Now, this Kapil Vastu is also coming out. And the second is, we are still traditional. Many people see us from other perspective as backward. But nonetheless, our backwardness are anchored on our tradition and culture and values. If you look at the Himalayas, the whole Himalayan region, we have the monasteries, and the societies are anchored to monasteries. And these monasteries come with annual schedule of different cultural events, very beautiful events. And those events are the main reason why so many people around the world wants to come to Nepal, Himalayas, and be associated with those cultural events and be with people. So we can turn this into kind of a valuable asset. Similarly, if you look at the Kathmandu Valley, it used to be more temples than houses some 30 years ago. Even now, this Kathmandu Valley community, they have this vibrant living culture where Buddhism is practiced with music, with cultural rituals, and with almost all living practices. If you look at, again, even those people living in Kathmandu Valley, if you look from this modernist Baconian perspective of development, they may be termed as people which are sidelined or which are set back. But nonetheless, if you look from the Buddhist perspective, if you look from cultural richness, if you look from humanity, human values, of course, they are living a very happy life and cheerful life. So these are some of the important aspects which will inherit, and therefore we are very much hopeful that in the days to come, we'll be able to attract more academicians, researchers, tourists, and everybody, even to remote villages, because of all these lifestyles and because of the Buddhist traditions of Dana, Shila, Shanti, which are so important. Tourists will not come to a hostile place. A place needs to be very peaceful and enjoyable, and people need to be cheerful to attract tourism. Tourism, Nepal has considered as one of the basic premise for our economic development. And this is where I think Buddhist values, Buddhist system, Buddhist tradition, Buddhist cultures are so much important in Nepal. The ways and means have substantiated the culture. Actually, our culture, these cultures, many of these cultures date back to Buddha's time. At least we have 2,000 years of written history, at least. This is important and valuable. And however, we have to think, I think the big challenge for us is how to prepare our schools, how to prepare our colleges and educational institutions to really visualize this, to really understand this, and bring our own uniqueness in leading the world as it was during the time of Buddha, during the time after Buddha, when Nalanda, Takshashila, Bikramshila, so many institutions really led the world in conceptualizing how we can develop a very peaceful, prosperous society and the countries. With this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam. Namaskara. Over to you. Thank you.
We now request Vengatare Chandananda to make his presentation. Sir, over to you, sir. Vengatare Chandananda, sir, please.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, after a lot of very trouble. Okay, good afternoon, most venerable monks, respected lecturers and teachers, and dear participants. Did you know a generous heart, kind speech, and a life of service and compassion are the things which renew humanity? Let's have a discussion about that. As you all know, I'm here to present you about role of Buddhist philosophy behind positive mental health. And I am so happy for this great opportunity. When I go to the, before I am going to my topic, I would like to start my presentation. When we consider about the background of Sri Lanka, about youth generation, looking at the younger generation today, it seems that more attention is being paid to Buddhism than ever before. They are motivated to study Buddhist philosophy and attitudes. There are many young people who are inspired by the Buddhist meditation centers in our country. And they are busy exploring the reality and understanding of life. In today's world, it's common for people to engage in various forms of misconduct. The spiritual quality of those who enter the society should be developed as a remedy to avoid such personal and social degradation. There is a misconception in society that a person religion life should start after the adolescence. Therefore, the two words commonly used to refer to the Latin Buddhism. We call it Upasaka and Upasika. If a young man leads a religion life by listening to sermon and cultivating vows, why is the girl upset now that the world is disappointed? He has to hear such sarcastic words from his friends. In the temples on holy days, it is mostly the elderly who are seen, adults who spend the rest of their lives relaxing are more like to be religious. Some people think that Buddhism is a religion that applies to people who are close to the hereafter, who have completed all the pleasure of life. It is wrong to think so. Buddhism is a great religion that can be applied to everyday life, that is equally beneficial to all, young and old. When I go to my introduction, Buddha was the best psychology doctor and the greatest teacher for the happiness, for the betterment of for the well-being for all of living beings. That is why his teachings are beneficial to everyone equally. If follow his path, anyone can be free from suffering here and after. One day, Buddha explained that all our problems and suffering arise from confused and negative state of mind, and that all our happiness and good fortune arise from peaceful and happiness. Buddha taught methods for gradually our negative minds such as greed, craving, anger, jealousy and ignorance, and developing our positive minds such as generosity, good conduct, loving kindness, compassion and wisdom. Through this we can come to experience lasting peace and happiness. These methods can work for anyone in any country, in any age. Once we have gained experience of them for ourselves, we can pass them on to the others so they too can enjoy the same benefits. Therefore, be positive, be cultivating all kind of good thoughts, good deeds, and good speeches for the happiness of yourself and others. According to the Buddha's teaching, life is so beautiful when we know how to transform suffering into happiness, and when we know how to overcome worries, difficulties, or problems and stress. The Buddha taught that our mind is the cause for everything. All mental phenomena have mind as their forerunner. They have mind as their chief. Everything is mind-made. If we are able to discipline our mind in correct way, definitely we can have the happiness because we don't do any bad things when we are in correct path. Moreover, our mind is magnet. If we think about the blessings, we attract blessing, and if we think of problems, we will attract problems and we are stressed by ourselves. Always cultivate good thoughts and always remain positive and optimistic. We get what we think. So think positive. Life will be automatically positive and filled with peace and happiness. Furthermore, we should understand that we are stressed or we are suffering because we don't discipline our mind. We listen to our mind and mind control us. First of all, we should change this because our worst enemies cannot harm us as much as our bad negative thoughts do. Therefore, try to see good everything. If there are something negative or bad, we should leave and forget it. If there is something positive and good, we should apply it into our life. Also, we should recognize that there are many negative seeds and also many positive seeds in our mind. However, we should avoid watering to negative seeds, and we should identify and water to the positive seeds every day. Then we can experience good results within us here and now. Then when I consider my content, you can see first one is what is mental illness, second one cause of mental illness, different kind of mental illness, early signs, suicides, prevention of mental illness, seventh one Buddhist perspective on reduce mental illness, conclusion and references. When we consider the facts of biological, we should understand what is the mental illness. We can it has main 4 factors. A brain disorder caused by a chemical change in the brain change in thinking and emotional perception, and behavioral abnormalities. They are interfacing with their daily activities. This is the introduction. What the biological doctors, students have said. Then when we see the definition, you can World Health Organization said what is the mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realize his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and it is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Then we can see when we consider about the present society, we can see some different kind of mental illness. Then there are many different type of mental disorders. When we consider common mental illness, we can see anxiety disorders, including panic disorders, depression, and other mood disorders, eating disorders, personality disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders. These are the common mental illness. When we consider what are the common mental illness, we can see depression, anxiety, and personality disorders. After that, I'm going to talk about how to Buddhism introduce mental illness. According to Buddha's word, a mental disorders or mental illness is a psychological or behavioral pattern that occurs in an individual, and it is thought to cause distress or disability that is not expected as part of normal development or culture. Buddhism recognizes two kinds of illness: illness of the body and illness of the mind. In this regard, the Buddha said, monks, there are to be seen beings who can admit freedom from bodily illness for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, 30, 40, and 50 years, who can admit freedom from bodily illness for even 100 years. But monks, those beings are hard to find in the world who can admit freedom from mental illness even for 1 moment, save only those in whom the asava, we call arahat, destroyed. From the above saying of the Buddha, we can say only an arahant has a perfectly healthy mind, as he has destroyed all defilements. Beside an arahant, as worldness, we are all mentally sick, but there is of course some dissimilarity between abnormal behavior and mental illness. The word abnormal literally means away from the normal, and mental illness refers to the mentally sick or simply mad. The Pali term for this is the ummatta. PED defines ummattaka as out of one's mind or mad. That means those who are out of mind or mad behave madly. A Pali commentator described the nature of mental patients like this: those who are seized with mental pain, however, tear their hair and thumb, they are twice, and they throw themselves over cliffs, use the knife, straw, poison, and hand themselves with the ropes into the fires. Early Buddhism also recognized various types of abnormal behavior. An analysis of Buddhist doctrines gives a clear picture of different types of abnormal behavior among individuals. For instance, Devadatta, Ajasatta, Angulimala are the example for psychopaths. Patachara and Kisa Gautami are the example of psychotics, and so on. In the Jataka stories too, we find various types of abnormal behavior described. we can see Kamummada, Kodummada, Darshanummada, Mohummada, Yakummada, Pitummada, Surummada, like that. Then, when we consider biological reasons for mental illness, we can see infection and illness directly injured to the brain, drug abuse, poor nutrient environments, characteristic by broken homes, violence in homes and the community, wars and disasters, change in brain chemicals. According to the data from World Health Organization member countries, some of the common diseases are as follows. At least in every your families has a high probability of being mental disorders. When we consider as globally, when we consider depression, 300 million globally, anxiety 275 million globally, and BAD 4 million globally, and schizophrenia 21 million globally. Suicide, 8 lakh people die, one death every 40 seconds. Second leading cause of death among 15 to 29 years old globally. This is the Sri Lankan average suicide in Sri Lanka. When we consider these all of facts, we can see suicide is the very huge topic in this presentation, because it is very different and very difficult to get rid of that situation. After that, I consider what are the Buddhist approach to mental health. The Buddha announced the most notable remark, whoever monks tends to be should also tend to the sick. He is known as a supreme physician of human beings. His Dhamma is equal with the great healing power. At many occasions, he claimed himself as an inseparable doctor and surgeon. Anuttaro Bisakko Sallakatto. The Buddha himself declared that he is compared to a physician who pulls out a poison arrow from wounded person. The patient at first experience version of suffering, healing process can begin. The Buddha, they explained that, this analogy. The wound represents the 6 inner sense field. The poison represents ignorance. The arrow is craving. The surgeon's knife symbolizes poor insight. The surgeon's problem represent mindfulness, and the physician and surgeon is the Tathagata himself. The above saying the Buddha demonstrated his approach to health as a skilled physician and surgeon. And there is the story of Gisa Gotami and mustard seed, which also illustrates the Buddha as a skilled healer. In the Buddhist scriptures, there are several other stories where the Buddha applied his relations therapy quite successfully. Following the various therapeutic application of the Buddha, not only Kisa Gotami, but also Patachara, Angulimala, the many more individuals not only regain their mental health, but also attain arhatship also. After that, now I am going to my presentation side to introduce what's the suicide. The World Health Organization estimate over 8 lakh people commit suicide each year. Higher stressful life events such as losing someone close, financial loss, trouble with the law, then prolonged stress like this. You can see. After that, we can see mental and behavioral disorders due to the selective substance use, alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, and heroin. Then this slide I would like to introduce prevention of mental illness. The cause of mental illness, they have been noted to be complex, which there are no obvious and straightforward means to prevent mental illness. Avoiding stressful situation, counseling stress, individuals reducing economic insecurity. These are the facts you can see. After that, I go next slide. This is my main topic, Buddhist perspective on reduced mental illness. After that, we can see Buddhism, how to get help from the counselings. We can summarize the meaning of mental illness in Buddhism. Fellows, my slide changing very fast because I have limited time. After that, Buddhism applied the current mental problems. We can see mind and mental factors in Buddhism, DSM and Buddhist Jataka stories, empathy in Buddhist psychotherapy, psychoanalytic technique and Buddhist psychotherapy, and CPT and Buddhist approach, Buddhist meditation. These are the best things in the Buddhist counseling. After that, I'm going to talk about what's the Buddhist counseling. We can see 4 groups: individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling, pre-marriage counseling. After that, I can see some stories also, Buddhist psychology situation. According to the Buddha's teaching, when people suffer from psychological problems, they tend to get from a counselor. Buddha was the great counselor. His techniques can use in present society also. Technology and science have acquired great development in present world. With the development of new technology and science, human life have become a machinery life. They all are now in great competition. With the competition, one day they fed up. Their mind is full with stress due to the problems. At that time, they need a counselor to guide him in right way. Buddhist teaching must understand as psychological therapy. It helps to cure the mental illness, and it is very important to achieve peace in the mind. Western psychologists, when start to study and research about counseling psychology, they understood usage of Buddhist teaching to it. Buddha have used many therapies which modern psychologists use today. According to Pali Canon, we can see the Buddha counsel to individual person, group of people, the family members such as husband, wife and children, Buddha mostly guide the kings, householders in the right way of life. Mostly, the Buddha counsel to the king, Kosala, Buddhist counseling system for the prevention the problems before they turn into the nasty conflict. In Buddhism, can see good solution for the problem also. Buddhist counseling try to eradicate root of the problem and cure it permanently. In Buddhist counseling system can advise to others. Because of that, counseling advice to people eradicate negative and weak point of his personality. Then teach can use to live without confront to any conflict in the society. There are many suttas related to Buddhist counseling and psychotherapy. Buddha mostly use group counseling method. Buddha preach thousands of people. Sometimes he meet a few number of people and discuss about similar problems which the entire person face. After that, I'm going to conclusion my presentation. What we can for the foregoing explanation in the every Buddhist approach to mental therapy is included in 2 methods to therapy: cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy. Mindfulness meditation is one cognitive approach in Buddhism. Even though there are various approaches of Buddhist mental therapy, the ultimate cure lies in meditation, in other words, in mindfulness practice. From the Buddhist point of view, becoming free from mental defilements or illness is not under the authority of any god or creator, but just lies within oneself. We ourselves are the creator of mental defilements. with regards to the point the Buddha said, like this. By oneself indeed is evil done, by oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone, by oneself indeed is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. By delivering the above mentioned verse, the Buddha prescribed for us the greatest therapeutic formula. He emphasized for us to take refuge in ourselves, to practice his teachings in order to purify our mind from mental impurities. Again and again, he reminds us that we are all sick and therefore we should diligently take the medicine to be healed. It is true that illness cannot be avoided. Instead of trying to avoid illness, we should understand it so that we will be able to cure it finally eradicate it. The teaching of the Buddha not only upgrades our health but also completely eradicate the defilements. The complete eradication of defilements refers to final liberation from dukkha, which is nibbana. In truth, as human beings, it is easy to give into the negative emotion of the anger and anxiety and jealousy, in turn it one common to experience referred body and pain and feel our toxic emotion through bodily pains that won't go away. So to overcome this type of negative situation, it is important to acknowledge that we are experience this emotion, and then we should find ways to remain composed mentally calm while coping with the difficult situation. Especially practicing meditation can help us remain calm in the face of many pleasure in our life. In addition, we should take time out from the difficult situation. Then we should try to identify our abilities, strengths and weakness, because our character is formed or revealed most during tough time. If we are not tested, we would never know the full strength of our abilities and coping skills, and we would never be aware of just how much inner strength we contain. So once we recognize our capabilities and skills, we know how to react or respond to bad situation, and we will definitely make the best decision to overcome our different time. To experience the best result of this, just we need to calm our mind and need to be patient, mindful and positive. May all beings have happiness and it causes. May all beings be free from danger and suffering and it causes. May all beings not be separated from sorrowful bliss. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger, share loving kindness and compassion with others. Finally, I would like to wish like this. May the Noble Triple Gems Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha bless you, all other family members, Dhamma friends and every beings to have good health, peace, ease, comfort, success and happiness by being free from all sickness, problems, worries, difficulties and sufferings. I am sharing a lot of merits and metta to all of you. May every heart be filled with the joy, compassion, happiness and success. May the happiness be set up every corner of the world. Finally, I would like to thanks. I hope that you found this speech informative and that you will consider adding more bananas into your day-to-day life. Before I finish, I would like to thank everyone who gave me this precious opportunity. And after that, I would like to thank this conference has been prepared by the Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Generation and Indian Council for Cultural Relations. They give me this best opportunity for my life, and not only that, but also I join with because this temple, because chief incumbent of Paramadhamma Chaitya Mahapirivena, the chief incumbent of Pirivena, our most venerable Dr. Mighty Pevimla Saratero and other all of monks. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Venerable Gattare Chandananda Thero. The wait was worth it. Your excellent presentation on Buddhist approach to mental well-being was really wonderful to listen to us, and very, very, very valuable. I presume to all the participants who are waiting, even even though we have exceeded the time, still waiting and listening to you. So that was really excellent. Thank you very much. Now, as we had mentioned, we would like to throw the floor open for any questions. We have a few questions in the chat box, but we would like the participants who are present there to unmute your mic and ask the questions directly to the resource persons who are present. Actually, Professor Sarao has left because he has an important meeting, and he has left his mobile number and his email ID for any questions or related to his session. But we have Venerable Gattare Chandananda Thero and Professor Hridaya Ratna Bajacharya all available with us. So we would request the participants to unmute their mics and ask the query related to the topics presented by Professor Gattare Chandananda Thero and Professor Hridaya Ratna Bajacharya.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm Dr. Pawan Kumar Aryan from Ambala near Chandigarh. Is it okay to go ahead, ma'am?
Your voice is not audible. Please speak up. Be a little louder.
I am Dr. Pawan Kumar Aryan from Haryana, Chandigarh. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. You're audible now.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. As Dr. Venerable Gattare has in a very elaborate way explained about the mental illnesses, and I would like to ask one very relevant question, as he has raised very important issues of mental illness our humanity is facing during these trying times. Sir, one Buddhist writer, his name is Yuval Noah Harari. He is from Jerusalem University. He wrote a book, Sapiens, along with other books. So I'm just referring to the book Sapiens. So he has drawn some conclusions that there would be lot of mental problems coming to humanity in the coming days. So as you have said that Buddhist practices of mental illnesses are very effective. So is there any medicinal aspect also, or it is only therapeutical type of the interventions?
Hello.
Yeah.
I
think the question was for Venerable Gattare Chandananda Thero. Sir, can you please answer this question of the participant?
Yes. He asked from only therapeutic system have in Buddhist psychology. It has some ABS system and counseling system and other has interprets mania and possession disorders and alcohol dependence and depression, sexual dysfunction also have indicated in Buddhism, and we call in Pali that has Kama Unmada, Krodha Unmada, Darshanumada. Not only Buddhist counseling, it has a lot of introduced in. I have introduced in 7th chapter in my presentation. These are the things, and DSM and Buddhist Jataka stories, and empathy in Buddhist psychotherapy, psychoanalytic technique and Buddhist psychotherapy, and therapy and Buddhist psychotherapy, and CBT and Buddhist approach. Among these factors, as I think Buddhist meditation and Buddhist psychotherapy is the best things, because it is attached to anyone life. When we consider of some Jataka stories also, I remember Mahagandiya Sutta. He has introduced like that, then you can get idea. Kama has been compared as painful to the touch. Snake's head. It is the Mahagandiya Sutta, very hot and scorching. In the Potaliya Sutta, Pataliya Sutta, the other synonyms of Kama found in the scriptural, as follows: Kama as a snacker, Kama as a craving, Kama as a ogre, Kama as a yoga, Kama as a grasping, Upadana, Kama as hindrance, Kama as defilements, Kama as fetter, Kama as latent defilements. Then we can see that different kind of immoral categories in Buddhism. When we consider now Buddhist stories related to the Buddhist psychotherapy, I give some example furthermore. When we consider Angulimala's story, Buddha used introspection therapy. For Angulimala, Buddha said, Angulimala, I am already stopped. Now you should stop. Then he tend to understand about him. Then he knew where went wrong with him and recorrected it. Then when we consider Patachara's story, we can see when Buddha met Patachara, Buddha used reality therapy. Buddha showed the reality of the world cannot change, and every person has to confront similar sorrowful incident day by day. Then Buddha tend her to understand about the inside of herself. It called the introspection therapy in Buddhism. I give another example. When we consider Angulimala's story, Buddha introspection therapy for Angulimala, Buddha said to Angulimala, I am already stopped, now you stop, like that. Then Buddha similarly raised troublesome incident slowing these own therapies. All methods are in modern Western counseling psychology also used. Then it is similar to Buddhist counseling. Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience, from the participants? If there are no questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Please introduce yourself and ask the question. Okay. 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 Any other question? If not, we will go to all the questions that are there in the chat box and address them only to two of the resource persons who are present. There is a question from Dr. Pavan Kumar.
Can I ask, ma'am, one more? Hello.
Yes. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I would like to ask Gathare ji about. Hello.
Oh, yes.
Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You have explained my previous question in a very relevant way, and I am so happy. Sir, please enlighten us regarding the this meditation, Buddhist meditation.
Yes.
Because I read about the story of Yuval Harari. Every day he practices 2 hours of meditation. So, would you please enlighten us about that and help us to follow this path of meditation?
Okay. When we consider Buddhist meditation, we can see two categories in Buddhism, and we call it as Samatha Bhavana and Vidarshana Bhavana, we call it. Samatha Bhavana is related to not only Buddhism, it has occurred a historical period in India also, before the Buddha's time period. After that, Vidarshana Bhavana, it is considered about our reality of our world and reality of our life. We call Vipassana, Vidarshana Bhavana. After that, I would like to say that when we consider meditation side, we know all that our mind has some defilements, like that for the world condition, Attaloka Dhamma, one's own ignorance, we call avijja, and another more we called delusions, hatred, desire. These are should be get rid of our mind step by step. Then when we person can at least do meditation at least 5 minutes, because it is can't continue a lot of time period at once. We should practice step by step. Then Buddhist has introduced 6 character in our whole people in the world. They are related to the 6 categories. We can say like this: Raga character, Dvesha character, Moha character, Saddha character, Buddhi character, Vitaka character. Then when we person start do meditation, when we have as example the person who has a lot of defilements with anger, then Buddha said he should practice like Metta Bhavana, loving kindness, like that. When we has desire character, he should select the Sunya Pradesha, I mean emptiness, empty places. Like that, Buddhism has introduced how to join with meditation. Then we can eradicate and destroy our defilements of our mind step by step. It should be practiced day by day. When we have anger, when we react at once, it will be very dangerous. As example, then we should think when some problem came to our life, we should how to react this problem. Should I get angry or not? Should I punish him or not? Should I harm or not? Like that, we can think like that. Then, but when we react suddenly at once, then reaction will be very dangerous. Then Buddha said, you must develop our patience in our mind. Like that, we can develop our Buddhist meditation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have some questions in the chat box. I'll just read them out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
It is possible
So
for
kind
the
of
2
you.
resource persons who are present, who can answer these questions. It's again from Dr. Pawan Kumar. He asks, which Vedic slok elaborate about ignorance and knowledge, and how these are averse to Buddha's message?
Sorry, can you again tell me?
Yeah, I'll just repeat, sir. Which Vedic sloka elaborate about ignorance and knowledge, and how are these averse to Buddha's message? This is a question that has been posed by Dr. Pawan Kumar.
Yes. Buddha's teaching is the greatest medicine among all the medicine. One thing that only can do a teacher dukkha, and it is into rage. His advice is to know our own dukkha. His therapy of Paticcasamuppada, it is called, we can, similar to ignorance also. Paticcasamuppada, we know, dependent origination. Simply state as ignorance, okay, because it is cause and also the therapy of karma, action, deed, reveals why ignorance occurs in individually. The Buddhist emphasize anicca and dukkha, anatma, we call it impermanence, can also be seen as a potential contribution the promotion of mental health to get away from ignorance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There is another question from Professor Upendra Rao. No, again from Dr. Pawan Kumar. He says, are the karma make us to carry on Purva Janma ke paap? Hence, people keep on taking birth as Dalit or Brahmin. If so, then Manu is also right, as he advocated caste system in the land of Buddha during 100 AD.
Yes, according to the Buddhist philosophy, we all know Buddha has preached like this: Najacha vasalo hoti, najacha hoti brahmano, kammana vasalo hoti, kammana hoti brahmano. When we born in this world, we cannot say that we should born different kind of caste. Buddha said that we cannot say if people we call in Indian society also have four differences. We call Brahma, Sastriya, Vaishya, Shudra, like that. The fourth one, Shudra, is the down place in the society. Then Buddha said that when we according at least Sutra also we call Sunito and Sopaka monks also related to that category. But Buddhism said that we should not compare with their caste. We should compare what he done and what he did. Then we can say that he is a great person or very poor person in mentally. Then we can categorize like that. Not in born, we cannot say like that he is related to this caste, he is related to another caste. We cannot categorize like that because we are all human beings. And when we collective good wholesome and unwholesome things in our mind day-to-day life, then it has some we call when we reaction by the universe, we call it is karma. It is related to this life not only, but that also another life also. We call it is karma, aparapariya karma. We all know we have four categories in Dhamma Vedaniya, Upapajya Vedaniya, Aparapariya, Ahosi karma. Aparapariya karma also it is coming with us our all life in the samsara journey. Then we should understand what we do in the present time, and we should be happy always in the present time, because when we consider in the society, we can see a lot of places to develop, and our body, whatever we call it is gym, but few places are in the world to develop our mind. Then Buddhist philosophy is the best medicine to beautiful for our life, an attractive life, then we should understand what is the karma. Karma is not bad things. When we stay in the positive mind and when we doing right things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that response to the query of Dr. Pawan. There is one question from Viviana Jijante, and this maybe Dr. Hridaya can answer this question. He says he found a monk translation of Dhammapada, with Pali scripture and Pali to English translation, but he wants to know whether there is any other recommendation. He or she.
For what? Hello?
Hello, can you tell me again? Because some technical errors arise.
Madam, some of the questions are to different speakers. Earlier, Professor, I think I could join it late because of my connectivity. So, Gathare ji has must be asked about the questions which are asked to him. I think because the rest of the professors have left now.
So if there are any other questions before we will conclude the day. Any other question from the participants? Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very general question. I don't know much, but it was very interesting to listen all the lectures which were delivered. I just want to ask that whether in this technology world, when Buddhism is always a religion which has scattered to many and it has a very strong value system, but in the world of technology, how far this value system really curbs with each other and works. If anyone can answer. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Sharmista, yes, Dr. Sharmista, your question was clear. Request of Venerable Gattare or Professor Hridaya Ratna to kindly answer this question.
That in this world of technology, how far it is relevant.
Dr. Sharmista, I think we will share with you the email IDs of the resource persons. I think you can address your question to them. Obviously, there seems to be some connectivity issue, and also we are actually
no problem, ma'am. Thank you.
The time constraint to two. Therefore, we would like to now conclude today's session. We had
Should I come in? I'm Dr. Pawan Arya. I would like to respond to ma'am's question. Madam,
Okay.
you said about you asked about the relevancy of the Buddhist philosophy or the Buddhist way of life in the modern technology era. Madam, I think there is a book written by. Have you gone through that book, *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari?
No, sir, no.
Yeah, that is a wonderful book, and that Yuval Noah Harari is the disciple of Buddhist philosophy, Buddha, and he has written this book in a remarkable manner. I think this is the best sold book in the world, and it has explained many things. I think you would love to read it, and you would get many answers out of this book regarding technological point of view. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your answer. Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Pawan.
Thank you, Dr. Pawan, for answering Dr. Sharmista's question. Now, as I said, we would like to conclude today's session.
Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. I just wanted to ask that we'll get the
yes, Mr. Vignesh.
Yeah, ma'am. We will get the feedback links of the sessions later on, or how we will get them?
No, we will give you at the end of the 3-day conference. On the 19th, we will share the feedback.
Okay, ma'am. No
link,
problem.
and you
That's
can
what
give
I
your
wanted to
feedback.
confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. So we would now like to conclude today's session. We had 4 wonderful lectures on very important aspects of the message of Buddha to the youth, Buddhist approach to mental well-being, and relevance of Buddhist philosophy in today's globalizing world, and Buddhist philosophy and the youth. By very revered professors, 3 professors and 1 scholar from Sri Lanka, and a professor from Nepal, which I'm sure all of us have benefited greatly. We would like to thank all the resource persons, today's resource persons, Professor Upendra Rao, Venerable Gattare Chandana Thero, Dr. Sarao, and Professor Hridaya Ratna Bhattacharya for their excellent lectures, which we found very interesting and very encouraging to all the participants. So with this, we would like to conclude with the note that you are all tomorrow's sessions will begin sharp at 10:30. We request you all to please log in at least 10-15 minutes before we start the sessions, so that we will be on time, and we will be able to listen to all the sessions on time and with time for discussion. So we request you to all please log in sharp at 10:30. Thank you very much. Till we meet tomorrow.
Thank you, madam. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
transport the masses.